They say reincarnation is like a total roulette wheel. And honestly, I think I just hit the jackpot. Dying from overwork sucked, so being human again is a huge win. But there's a catch: I'm an extra in a super depressing novel. Specifically, a side character who gets deleted in chapter 1. Meet Han Si-ha, the hopeless fool I've been stuck as. F-rank Tamer, failing grades, and a neutral evil personality. Great. Talk about a bad draw. I'm literally at the bottom of the barrel. Being a disposable villain is bad, but the timing is straight up garbage. Right now, I'm deep in the lair of some dark magicians. This is their secret annex, and the vibes are definitely not good. Original Si-ha came here because he had tons of mana but zero talent. The hooded guards are already scouting me as a useful kid. One guy thinks I'm actually worth something. Little does he know. Come along, kid. Yeah, lead the way to my inevitable doom. I give them my best, evil apprentice smile while sweating bullets. He asks if I know the drill. I just nod and pray I don't die. I know the drill: once I take that blood oath, there's no leaving. In the book, these guys get wiped out by the real heroes. And if I stay here, I'm officially dead meat along with them. I need an exit strategy, and I need it before the ritual starts. Suddenly, a system window pops up. Sync complete. Even the game is giving me a heads up to get the hell out. Wait, a recommendation? This might actually be my ticket out. A loud thud from the basement makes the guard freeze. What was that? He's clearly on edge. He tells me to stay put while he checks it out. Thanks for the opening. I watch him disappear into the shadows. Now or never. Time to run like my life depends on it. I bolt down the hallway, heart hammering against my ribs. I've made it up from the basement, but where's the exit? There it is. A massive door blocked by heavy, glowing chains. Voices. I duck into the shadows, heart skipping a beat. The guards are already freaking out about an escape. They're searching for a spy. Yeah, that's definitely me. I peek around the corner. Are they gone yet? I reach for the door, desperate for some fresh air. I pull with everything I've got, but these chains aren't moving. I have to rely on my knowledge of this novel to survive. Han Si-ha was a mana beast, he just didn't know how to aim it. Time to see if I can actually control this power before I'm caught. Han Si-ha recalls how the main character in the novel used to gather mana. He's desperate to pull it off, even if his skills are trash. He focuses everything on his fingertips. Come on, work. He lets out a sigh. Still too weak to break through these chains. Suddenly, a scaly red foot steps out from the darkness. A small red creature with glowing eyes is watching him from the shadows. Han Si-ha freezes. Well, I'm dead. Something massive looms over him, or so he thinks. Psych. It's just an adorable baby dragon blushing at him. Meet Basil. The little reptile won't stop following him. Is it lost? He picks Basil up, wondering how a dragon ended up in a basement. He wants to leave it behind. He's already struggling to save himself. Basil starts crying like a baby. Squeak. Don't leave me. Han Si-ha panics. If the guards hear this, it's game over. He looks at the locked door. Maybe this kid is his ticket out. A system message pops up. His charm is through the roof. Apparently, his past life's nature is overriding the original Si-ha. His charm stat is skyrocketing just by holding the little guy. The system asks if he wants to tame this suspicious hatchling. Basil is already super friendly. Talk about an easy win. He realizes his soul's disposition is carrying over to this body. He looks for the accept button. No luck there. How does this work? Does he need to say some cringy line to make it official? In his past life, he was a pro with animals. Trust is key. He holds Basil and says the magic words, "Trust me." He's holding his breath. Please let this work. Success. The taming is officially complete. A blinding light fills the room as the contract seals. Basil is surrounded by a magical taming circle just being a light skin. Tamed? Just like that? He's almost disappointed it was so easy. Time for a field test. Show me what you got, kid. His eyes glow with newfound power. Alright, Basil. First job. Open that lock. Simple enough, right? Basil charges at the door like a scaly cannonball. One hit and the chains shatter like glass. Raw power. The door finally swings open. Good boy, Basil. Freedom. He's so close to getting out of this nightmare. Wait, those aren't his footsteps behind him. A dark magician looms behind him. Found the rat. Han Siha is running for his life, and things are looking pretty grim. The dark magicians are right on his heels, closing the gap fast. He recalls the first basic magic spell he learned at the academy. It's a simple trick meant to create smoke and hide your tracks. He regulates his breath and focuses every bit of energy into his hands. He just needs a single opening to slip away from these guys. The magic ignites, filling the corridor with a blinding flash of smoke. To his surprise, the basic spell actually works on the first try. The magicians are caught off guard, coughing in the thick smoke. He reaches the exit, but the escape isn't going to be that easy. Suddenly, a massive magic hand grabs him by the throat. The pressure is intense, making it nearly impossible for him to breathe. Pinned against the wall, he starts to think this is the end for him. The magician offers him a painless death if he just stops fighting. He knows he's dead either way, but he's not ready to give up yet. The black magic has him trapped, but there's still one variable left. He looks at the small red hatchling, Basil, sitting right beside him. He decides to put his trust in the little dragon he just saved. Using his taming skill, he reaches out to connect with the hatchling. He begs the little guy to cooperate so they can both get out alive. Basil's eyes glow as he prepares to unleash his hidden power. A massive stream of dragon fire incinerates everything in its path. The magic grip shatters, and Han Siha finally catches his breath. He's stunned that a tiny hatchling could produce such a powerful flame. Basil seems pretty proud of himself, chirping and nuzzling his new friend. He promises to take the dragon with him as they make their getaway. They keep moving, putting as much distance as they can from the mages. After walking for an hour under the sun, he's completely exhausted. Poor Basil is also struggling, panting from the desert heat. Just then, a carriage appears on the horizon like a miracle. He shouts at the driver, desperate to get his attention. He begs the old man for a ride before they get caught again. The driver asks if he has any money to pay for the trip. He doesn't have cash, so he offers up his student ID card. The card is sponsored by Ardal Academy, so it should be good for credit. The man lets them on, and he's never been more relieved in his life. The carriage starts moving, heading toward their destination. He's still on edge, worried that the mages might track them down. If they get discovered now, there won't be a second chance. He's got plenty of enemies waiting for him back at the academy too. But right now, the academy is the only safe place for him to hide. Selen, the academy's assistant professor, is just vibing in all that prestige. The place is dripping with gold and chandeliers, looking expensive as hell. Even the students are walking around like they own the place in their elite uniforms. Suddenly, Selen's peaceful morning gets interrupted by something hideous. A dusty, run-down carriage rolls in, making a scene in the fancy courtyard. Out steps a guy who looks like he's been through a literal war zone. Selen is losing it, seeing someone this filthy on campus is a personal insult. She's absolutely horrified that a student this unrefined actually exists here. Han Siha is just relieved to be back, while Basil stays tucked away in his cloak. A strict instructor is at her limit. She asks who could possibly ruin the academy's dignity on the very first day. It's Han Siha, and he's looking like a total mess. He realizes he's staring at a teacher. This isn't exactly the low-profile start he was hoping for. He tries to apologize for being late, but she's already over it. She doesn't have the patience for a student who's already failing. She decides to just let it slide for now. As she brushes past him, the other students start whispering. They haven't forgotten his creepy reputation. Rumors say he spends his nights practicing dark magic with dolls. It's a total PR nightmare for the new Han Siha. She tells him to quit standing around and get inside before things get worse. Han Siha pulls out his best good boy smile and promises to be early from now on. She doesn't buy the act for a second and just keeps walking. He rushes into the academy, feeling the weight of the new semester already. The gossip follows him through the halls. Still gloomy, they say, like he hasn't changed a bit. Once inside the hall, Han Siha tries to focus. He knows his life literally depends on what happens next. Everyone is staring. They're debating whether he was actually planning to drop out. Some even think his family bribed the professor to let him pass. He just keeps his head down and ignores them. He tunes out the noise to focus on his #1 goal, surviving in this novel world on his own. Step 1 is simple: stay quiet. He needs to blend in and avoid being the target of the protagonists. In the original story, the old Han Siha was an incompetent villain who ended up being buried alive by the heroes. No one even cared enough to remember exactly how he died. He was just a pathetic footnote. He clenches his hands, determined to change that. No more being a sacrificial pawn for the plot. Step 2, graduate from the academy safely. He needs that diploma to have any kind of future. His family has basically disowned him, so he actually needs to find a way to make a living. An Ardal Academy diploma is the ultimate security plan for someone in his position. He imagines his future self being showered with cash and job offers from the top magical guilds. To get there, he has to dodge every single death flag the original plot throws at him. That means no wars, no dark magic, and definitely no getting killed by the main characters. Suddenly, the doors fly open, signaling the start of the ceremony. A stern professor walks in, immediately silencing the entire room with his presence. This is Ernest, a high-ranking instructor in the magic department known for his brutal standards. The students are already terrified. His exams are famous for making even the best geniuses struggle. Ernest taps his cane on the floor, calling the room to order and silencing the chatter. He notes that this year's crop of students looks promising, though he's already spotted the standouts. Han Si-ha knows he's right. All the legendary heroes of the original novel are sitting in this very room. Seeing the insane level of talent around him makes his own position feel even more shaky. Ardal Academy only takes the elite, and the pressure to succeed starts from day one. It's a 6-year gauntlet designed to break anyone who isn't a true magical prodigy. For most students, this is less of a school and more of a survival arena where competitiveness is everything. Statistics don't lie. Only 10% of these students will actually graduate with meaningful results. Han Si-ha is already feeling the weight of it. Competing with the literal main cast is going to be a nightmare. The original Han Si-ha turned to black magic for a shortcut, but this version knows that's a death sentence. Ernest addresses the crowd, making it clear that there's no room for anyone who can't meet the standard. Starting today, the weak will be filtered out. Han Si-ha knows he has to find his own way to stay in the game. Ernest stares him down like he can see right through his soul. Han Si-ha is already rethinking his life choices. The professor decides it's time to drop the schedule for the upcoming entrance exams. One heavy thud of the cane, and the room goes dead silent. The man definitely has a flair for the dramatic. He flicks his wrist, and boom, floating illusion magic. Ardal Academy really loves showing off their budget. Han Si-ha is genuinely shocked. The magic here is on a whole different level compared to what he's used to. The deal is simple: pick 3 subjects and pass the written and practicals. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. Ernest is already reaching for a box, and you just know things are about to get complicated. Han Si-ha knows there's no way this exam is going to be a walk in the park. Not with this guy in charge. Every subject has limited spots, and the order is decided by a random draw. Truly fair, or just chaotic? Our boy thinks a lottery is a bit low budget for a magic academy, but he's not the one making the rules. Ernest starts the draw, and the tension in the room is high enough to power a small city. Han Si-ha is sweating bullets. He needs to get in early before all the not impossible subjects are taken. The professor pulls out the first name ball. The moment of truth has officially arrived. Han Si-ha holds his breath, praying to every god he knows just to get a decent slot. And wouldn't you know it? The first name called is Han Si-ha. Han Si-ha is finally breathing a sigh of relief. He actually survived that madness. Time to pick some classes. He's avoiding the mana-heavy stuff until he actually knows what he's doing. Why are these titles so dramatic? It's like the academy wants everyone to fail. Hydrology and rituals. Sounds boring enough to be safe. He'll take it. The other students can't believe it. The failing Tamer is actually picking a theory course. He's just trying to stay under the radar. Flying low is the best way to not die. The academy library is massive. Time for a little light reading before the next disaster. Back in his old world, he was a vet. Turns out, medical logic works surprisingly well here. Hydrology principles? Easy. He can just treat it like fancy math. Monster anatomy and behavioral studies. Now this is something he can actually use. And he brought some backup. Basil is itching for something to do. Basil is ready to go, but they have to be sneaky. A dragon hatchling is a bit of a red flag. Too many eyes in the hallways. He has to hide the little guy before someone asks questions. The underground training hall. The perfect place to let a dragon run wild. It's deep underground, away from any prying eyes. Perfect. 1 ticket for the beginner hall, please. Keep it professional. The receptionist is skeptical. A dragon in the beginner zone? That's overkill. Basil peeks out, trying to look as innocent as possible. It's almost working. She needs names for the registry. He introduces himself as a second-year student. But the dragon needs a name, too. He hasn't actually thought of one yet. He wants a badass title. Something that makes people shake in their boots. Young Gary? No. Basil is definitely not feeling that one. Too dated. Carcharodontosaurus? Okay, now he's just showing off his vet knowledge. Basil hates it. He thinks for a second. It has to be better than a dinosaur name. It's official. Basilisk is on the registry. Let the training begin. The academy even offers free weapon rentals. It's like a 5-star hotel for wizards. He grabs a shield and a wand. He's a tamer, but he's not an idiot. Backup is key. Han Siha and Basilisk, officially entering the zone. Time to level up. The simulation is mind-blowing. It looks more real than the outside world. First victims, slimes. They look like colorful, blocky gelatin. How threatening. First victims, slimes. They look like colorful, blocky gelatin. How threatening. He points Basilisk toward the targets. Time for a little appetizer. He's got a devious look. These slimes are about to have a very bad day. Basilisk doesn't hesitate. He's already tearing through them like a pro. The dragon's instincts are finally waking up. He's a natural-born hunter. Basilisk is handling the heavy lifting, so Siha can focus on his own skills. Suddenly, a low growl shakes the trees. That doesn't sound like a slime. Something fast lunges out of the shadows. The beginner zone just got a lot harder. What the heck is that? This definitely wasn't in the beginner guide. The slimes are swarming. It looks like an endless supply of colorful gelatin. Basilisk, you're warmed up, right? The little guy squeaks. He's ready to rumble. Time for their secret weapon. Siha gets his shield ready for the blast. These sugar cubes have no idea what's coming. Blow them up. Siha gives the order, and Basilisk doesn't hesitate. A massive fire blast clears the entire field. Now that's what I call a cleanup crew. Siha looks at the destruction stunned. Yeah. Good job. Basilisk is still full of life. Half a day later. The field is finally quiet. Siha is arched up, completely drained of every drop of mana. Juggling dragon commands and magic is way more exhausting than he expected. He looks at his partner with a grin. Basilisk is a natural, definitely deserves a treat later. Suddenly, a scream echoes through the forest. So much for a peaceful afternoon. Nearby, another student is losing her cool. She's yelling at her beast to catch some slimes. She looks absolutely livid. Siha wonders who this intense girl could be. Adela is out here struggling with a hellhound, shouting at the beast to stay still like it's a golden retriever. Han Siha watches from the sidelines with Basil, unimpressed by her aggressive taming methods. The hound doesn't listen at all, straight up ditching her and bolting into the forest. Adela chases after the runaway beast, frustrated that it managed to slip away so easily. She's ready to throw hands the moment she catches it. But when she finally finds it, the beast is sitting perfectly like a good boy for someone else. It's Han Siha, looking completely relaxed while the hellhound acts like a pampered pet. Siha casually asks if the dog is hers, then drops some unsolicited advice on how to actually tame it. Adela is stunned. Did the school's biggest loser just lecture her on taming? He explains that beasts mirror their tamer's emotions. If you're angry, they get excited. Adela is actually the top Earth mage at Ardell Academy, never dropping below 3rd place. Even as a commoner, her natural talent is legendary, and almost no one can match her in battle. But thanks to a crappy lottery system, she got stuck with her worst subject, basic taming. To make it worse, her partner is supposedly Siha, who couldn't even tame a slime last year. The rumors say he's obsessed with dark magic and wallows in self-pity every single day. But right now, he's happily wrestling with the hound on the grass. What rumors? Adela is speechless. He's doing the impossible without breaking a sweat. Siha hands the beast back now that it's calm, but wonders why she chose a hellhound of all things. Adela thanks him, still a bit dazed by the sudden shift in the beast's attitude. He points out that hellhounds are a pretty rough choice for a first-time tamer. She explains it has a high point value, and she's aiming for first place in the exam. Siha jokes about her liking mud baths, earning him a very dangerous smile. She's annoyed, but she can't help but feel like he's nothing like the stories. She realizes he's talking to her like an equal, even though he's a noble and she's a commoner. Then she notices Basil. A dragon hatchling? Now she's beyond impressed. She decides to stick with him to see if she can pick up some of his taming secrets. They head back to the training ground, where the slimes have already reset. Adela isn't worried. She's ready to clear the area in one shot. A pack of angry-looking slimes pops up, ready for a fight. She slices through them with her sword, showing off that top-tier talent. Siha watches from behind, thinking her fighting style is a little on the rough side. One slime tries to sneak up on her, but she just buries it alive without looking. Siha asks if she has a hobby of burying things, and she just gives him a terrifying laugh. Suddenly, a blast of magic wipes out another monster creeping up behind her. She plays it cool, claiming she totally knew it was there the whole time. Siha doesn't call her out, just shrugs it off and calls for Basil. Adela is secretly shocked. That magic accuracy was way too high for a beginner. She starts to wonder who this guy actually is as they walk off into the blue light. They have no idea they're being watched through a crystal ball in the main office. The staff panics, realizing there's a serious problem in the beginner training ground. The dean is stressed out, worried that a top student like Adela might be in real danger. The dean is sweating bullets, muttering about how bad this situation actually is for Siha. He thinks Adela might survive, but as for the talentless Siha, he's basically already dead in their eyes. In their minds, a guy with nothing to offer doesn't stand a chance when a dungeon starts malfunctioning like this. Dungeon glitch. The formula's broken, and now the mobs are way above their pay grade. Han, Siha and Adela are stuck right in the middle of a slime-infested nightmare. Back at the academy, the dean watches through a screen, basically telling them to pray. Back to back, our duo is surrounded by a sea of glowing blue slimes. These things aren't just sticky, they're pure acid, burning the grass to a crisp. Adela is reaching her limit, shouting about how she's never eating a slime salad again. Siha notices she's holding her own way better than a normal student should. He remembers her legend, the fierce Adela, a mage destined to be a top-tier powerhouse. But seeing her now, he's confused why she's struggling in an introductory field. In the novel, she was ruthless. But this version? She's actually, kinda nice. Adela catches him spacing out and nodding to himself like a total weirdo. They'd been stuck for 3 hours, and help is definitely not on the way. Turns out, the dungeon is lagging. 3 hours inside is only 30 minutes outside. Siha realizes they're on their own for at least a few more hours. Survival is looking pretty unlikely given the infinite swarm of acid blobs. Adela's ready to panic, but Siha tells her to keep it together. He asks her to buy him some time while he preps a Hail Mary. He trusts her to hold the line, even if she's doubting herself right now. Basil is ready to go. Siha's got a plan, and it's one he's seen in the original novel. In the story, the original, Siha tried to save the day and failed miserably. He ended up getting roasted by the fans for being a total letdown. But our Siha knows the secret. He just found exactly what he needs. He finds some glowing blueberries and tells Basil to harvest the whole patch. The old Siha got cursed for this scene, but this is a different timeline. He grabs the magic herbs. It's time to show everyone how it's actually done. Meanwhile, Adela is fighting for her life as the slimes close in. She's at her breaking point and wonders if Siha has actually ditched her. Finally, Siha shows up with a smug grin and a done. He's built a literal shrubbery fence, which doesn't exactly scream safe zone. He tells her to get inside the barricade before she gets melted. Adela dives in just as the slimes surround them completely. The goal, build a fort, then nuke everything outside the walls. The original failed because he lacked fire. But our guy brought a dragon to a slime fight. Siha starts channeling mana, creating a glowing magic circle around his hand. He summons a volley of magic arrows straight into the sky. Now for the finisher, he signals Basil to heat things up. The little dragon's eyes glow with primal fire. He breathes a stream of fire into the arrows, igniting and amplifying them. The fire arrows begin to rain down like holy fire. Adela is speechless. She can't believe this hopeless guy just pulled that off. Siha coolly explains the science. Slime venom is like gasoline. Adding fire equals a very big boom. Those vines weren't just for looks, they're fire resistant. Talk about a high IQ barricade. Area cleared. Now Siha is ready to collapse. Being this up is actually pretty tiring. Adela is confused. Why would a stuck-up noble like Han Siha actually save a commoner? He catches her staring and asks if she's finally starting to feel grateful. She swallows her pride and admits it. Hard to argue when he just saved her life. Siha flashes a sly grin. Then do me one favor. Adela is stunned. Why is he suddenly asking for a favor? She's wary. If it's something creepy, she's definitely not helping. Han Siha just wants her to keep a secret. That's it. He lists off his big wins, taming the hellhound and clearing the slimes. He tells her to just keep it quiet about how incredible he is. Humble. Adela is not impressed. This guy's ego is something else. Later, Siha finds green slime orbs while Basil watches closely. The professors are scrambling, trying to figure out the dungeon error. The uninjured students are called in for their rewards. Time to collect. In the dean's office, Siha waits on a fancy sofa with his dragon. He calls Basil over to check how much he's grown. Basilisk Atrax's stats appear. He's level 5 and still loves cheese. He's gained toxic resistance from those error slimes. Pretty handy. Siha wonders what the dark mages were really doing in that basement. Basil is showing insane potential. He's an absolute monster in the making. Siha pulls out a green orb. Time for a little snack. It's a slime orb, a concentrated ball of monster essence. He tries to convince Basil it's delicious. The dragon is skeptical. Basil knows a lie when he smells one. He's not buying the sales pitch. Siha keeps pushing. He'd never eat it himself, but Basil needs it. Basil finally takes the bait and chomps down. Big mistake. The dragon's life flashes before his eyes. That's a lot of regret in one look. He starts gagging immediately. It tastes like concentrated garbage. But the stats don't lie. Mana and toxic resistance are through the roof. These orbs boost the hardest stats to level. They're basically cheat codes. Basil's hunger for power wins. He dives headfirst into the bag. Siha leans back, enjoying the sweet sound of stat notifications. Ka-ching. Suddenly, a loud knocking ruins the moment. Adela bursts through the door, shouting his name at full volume. Siha is caught off guard. He didn't expect a visitor so soon. She's furious that he took all the credit and all the loot. Siha tells her to pipe down. His ears can only take so much. He tries to explain that surviving was the real prize, but she's not hearing it. Adela turns away, rejecting his sympathy. She's got pride. Siha is genuinely confused. He asks her who she even is. This sets her off. She can't believe he doesn't recognize her. Siha sighs and asks for her name. Let's just get this over with. She shouts it out with a blush. Her name is Adela. The name hits him like a truck. Memories of the original story flood back. In the original novel, Adela Stivia was the one who buried Siha alive. Current Adela smiles cutely, but Siha only sees his future executioner. He stares into the distance, realizing he just met his own doom. Siha is currently having an existential crisis. Is meeting Adela just a death sentence? Meanwhile, she's standing there judging his life choices. Especially his messy hair. He takes one look in the mirror and realizes she's right, it's time for a major glow-up. The old Siha was a total disaster. People weren't just avoiding him, they were genuinely disgusted. He was basically a human rain cloud. Nobody wanted to be within 10 feet of him. But that's over. He finally decides to do something about his filthy and shabby appearance. Fast forward to the next day in the classroom. The vibe is definitely different. Siha gets a middle part and now everyone thinks he's him. The whispers start. He hears every single word. People are literally questioning if this is the same guy. Then this red-haired guy named Creek struts over, acting like a total clown. Creek is a commoner who tries way too hard to act superior to everyone else. He used to treat the original Siha like his personal lackey just to satisfy his ego. He tries to start his usual bullying, but a simple haircut won't stop his pathetic attitude. Siha just gives him the cold shoulder. Creek is losing his mind over being ignored. Creek gets nasty, bringing up Siha's family while Siha just reaches into his bag. He doesn't even blink. He just calls out for his secret weapon, Basilisk. Basil pops out of the bag looking ready to bite. Siha tells Creek to try asking again. The crowd is buzzing. A real red dragon? Where did a regular student even get his hands on something like that? Creek can't help himself, mocking Han Siha for being a family outcast who's apparently still loaded with cash. Han Siha just wanted a quiet life, but he's gotta ask, does this guy really think money is the secret to taming a dragon? He isn't planning to be a pushover anymore. He hits the bully with a casual insult that cuts deep. Creek loses his mind instantly. The guy has zero chill when he's being looked down on. It's high-efficiency provocation. Siha gently pats Basil, mocking the hothead for being so easy to trigger. The protagonist keeps the pressure on, asking if the bully is actually just terrified of getting bitten. Creek is fuming, unable to believe this guy doesn't know his place. But Siha isn't done playing. Fine, if there's a problem, they should just settle it. No point in just barking at each other. The red-haired bully looks a bit hesitant now that a real challenge is on the table. Siha proposes a bet on the upcoming exam results. Loser has to bark like a dog in front of everyone. A new day at Ardal Academy, where a weird bet is about to turn the hierarchy upside down. Creek agrees to the deal, sealing his own fate. Siha is already counting down to the humiliation. He walks away with a smirk. Cleaning up messes is something he mastered in his previous life. Back then, they called him the crazy dog of interns. He never backed down from a fight. Of course, more trolls show up. They've heard about the bet and want a piece of the action. They're already laughing, convinced that Han Siha is the one who'll be doing the barking. Same old story. People just can't leave a successful person alone. Siha just sighs and tells them to name themselves. The blonde guy is Fabian Den Edwin, and he's genuinely shocked that anyone wouldn't know his name. A quick status check reveals Fabian is exactly what he looks like, an obnoxious royal bully. Memory unlocked. This is the ringleader who used to make the original Han Siha's life a living hell. No more talking. Siha pulls Basil out and gives the order to bite him, for real this time. The dragon hatchling sparkles with excitement. Fabian's smug face vanishes in an instant. Basil doesn't hesitate. He lunges at the royal, proving that status doesn't mean anything to a hungry dragon. A scream rings out. Turns out dragons are great at shutting up arrogant bullies. Later, Adela reminds him that messing with royals usually isn't great for your health. Siha doesn't care. They're the ones who picked a fight, and he's not backing down from anyone. Adela is surprised. She thought he was just another petty bully, but he's actually got some spine. She admits it makes him look a bit cooler, though she still thinks he has no real plan. Adela points out that his magic is still a mess. Taking on Creek in the exam is beyond reckless. She offers her hand. If he wants to win, he's going to need some serious training. She's the only reason he's got a shot, and she knows it. It's time to get to work. They strike a deal. She'll teach him taming, and in return, he'll help her with magic. This is their final practice duel. If he can beat her here, Creek won't stand a chance. The duel starts with a bang. Adela isn't holding back, and Siha is ready to push himself. Spells and mana collide as they trade blows. The special training is officially over. Time flies by, and the day of the semester opening exam finally arrives. The arena is set. Students from the magic department are ready to show off their skills. Adela finishes her test in record time, earning a perfect A grade with her hellhound. She's a natural talent. Siha watches, impressed by how easily she perfectly tamed the beast. Finally, his name is called. Han Siha steps forward, ready to claim his victory. The taming exam is held inside a magic cube, virtual monsters, real danger. Sounds like a Tuesday for Han Siha. The rules are simple, your monster fights a virtual one match to your level. Win and you pass. Lose and, well, don't lose. Time to get this over with. Han Siha steps into the cube, ready to show everyone exactly why he's in the genius department. Suddenly, a massive Adeption appears. This isn't a beginner-level monster, this thing is a genuine nightmare. It's a snake-type monster Li Han only faced in his 3rd year. The system just handed a freshman a death sentence. Even little Basil is vibrating with fear. Han Siha stays cool, reminding his dragon that they wanted a real test. That slime orb from before? Time to see if it was worth the trouble. Basil locks in, eyes turning from cute to killer. Step 1, close the distance. Basil launches forward with a speed that definitely isn't normal for a hatchling. Snakes always have a weak spot, the eyes. A classic gaming strat, but way harder to pull off in person. Han Siha keeps the monster busy with his magic. If they take a direct hit from this thing, it's game over. While the Adeption is distracted, Basil moves into the blind spot. The perfect setup for a finishing blow. And then, it's now or never. Basil charges up a fire blast. He absolutely frickin' eviscerates the snake's eye, blasting clean through. Han Siha walks away like he didn't just survive a boss fight. The monster's head hits the ground behind him. The Proctor is absolutely losing it. That Adeption was a system glitch that shouldn't have been in there. Even a 3rd-class mage would struggle with that snake one-on-one. The whole faculty is in shock. Siha just shrugs it off. That slime orb really did wonders for Basil's power level. He walks back with a smile, asking if a dead glitch monster still counts as a pass. Humble as ever. Han Siha, S grade. The entire school is left speechless as the scoreboard updates. Boom. Han Siha is settling into academy life, but his latest exam results are about to flip everything upside down. A classmate is gushing over his scores, pointing out he's already ranked 1st in taming. Adela jokes that with his skills, there's no point in even practicing dueling with him. But for Han Siha, this fame is a nightmare. He was supposed to be blending in. His plan was to aim for a comfortable 15th place, just average enough to be ignored. He really wanted to avoid drawing attention, but his genius brain just won't let him. He mutters about his failure while Adela just watches him like he's lost it. She snaps him out of it, asking how he felt about that brutal math exam. Han Siha played it safe there, intentionally getting almost every question wrong to tank his grade. Adela vents about how impossible the test was, admitting she totally bombed it. Seeing her stress, Han Siha considers offering her some tutoring to repay her for all her help. She's genuinely worried, if she misses 1st place, she can kiss her scholarship goodbye. She asks if he managed to solve problem 27, a question so hard it shouldn't have been on the test. Han Siha casually says he thinks he got it, and you can practically hear Adela's brain short-circuit. She can't believe it. That problem was meant for professors, and he just did it? Suddenly, it hits him. That was the one question he forgot to intentionally fail. He accidentally proved he's a math prodigy while trying to look like a total loser. Meanwhile, over in the faculty office, Professor Tamer is staring at the results in disbelief. He designed that final problem to be unsolvable, specifically to filter out the top students. His assistant confirms the unthinkable, only one student in the school got it right. It was Han Siha. He failed every easy question but nailed the ultimate challenge. Tamer finds it fascinating, this kid is becoming a major mystery for the faculty. The next day, the rankings are officially posted, and the hallway is a total mosh pit. Han Siha pushes through the crowd, looking for a specific name on the board. He finds the guy he's looking for at a pathetic 32nd place. The crowd is buzzing, shocked by the upset they're seeing on the list. It turns out Han Siha accidentally landed in 11th place, winning the bet by a landslide. His rival, Creek, is fuming, his pride clearly wounded by the ranking. Han Siha doesn't miss the chance to stir the pot, walking right up to the hothead. With a smug look, he tells the redhead to follow him if he knows what's good for him. Everyone is whispering about how the local bully just lost to the F-rank guy. Creek looks like he's about to explode, but he actually follows Han Siha anyway. Han Siha starts the mockery immediately, asking him a basic math question just to be a jerk. Creek tries to talk back, but his brain is clearly lagging behind his anger. Han Siha hits him with a smirk, reminding the 32nd place loser exactly who's in charge. Creek clenches his fist, hating that he's stuck in a deal with the guy he used to pick on. Han Si-ha isn't just doing this for fun, he's got a specific use for this loudmouth. But first, he delivers a perfectly timed forehead flick just to get under his skin. Creek yelps in surprise, complaining that physical bullying wasn't part of the bet. Han Si-ha just gives him a cold stare, making it clear that the rules have changed. He tells Creek to meet him in a deserted basement clubroom later that night. Left alone in the hallway, Creek can only wonder what kind of nightmare he's just signed up for. Han Si-ha tells Creek to consider it a favor that he didn't make him bark in front of the whole school. Creek is totally over it, demanding to know what his master actually wants from him. Si-ha starts with a classic noble power move, asking if the redhead knows who his father is. Creek is sweating bullets. Of course he knows, everyone in the Empire knows that name. We're talking about Han Tae-soo, the legendary blood count who single-handedly ended the Dark Mage War. Creek assumes Si-ha is just trying to flex his noble status to intimidate him further. The bully is internally freaking out, finally realizing that Si-ha's family is actually terrifying. Si-ha ignores the panic and orders the redhead to use his connections to start a massive rumor mill. Creek is absolutely floored. He expected a demand for money or blood, not a marketing campaign. Si-ha wants the news out fast, the more people in the school who hear it, the better. He walks off like a boss, leaving a very confused Creek standing alone in the hallway. Far away from the academy, the news finally reaches the Han family's massive estate. The butler of Kastika estate brings the latest updates from Ardal Academy to the Count. Count Han Tae-soo is busy writing, still viewing his youngest son as a pathetic disappointment. The butler reports that things are looking grim for the boy without his family's financial support. Tae-soo isn't sympathetic, he thinks a little starvation is exactly what the kid needs to man up. He snaps his quill in a rage, swearing to end the boy himself if he ever touches dark magic again. But the butler drops a bombshell. Si-ha actually achieved unprecedentedly good results on his exams. The Count is speechless. 11th place? From the son he thought was a total lost cause? It gets weirder. Rumors say the young master is now a kind, handsome, and upright gentleman. Tae-soo is staring into space, unable to compute how his disgrace of a son became a model student. He suspects Si-ha just bullied some commoner into spreading ridiculous lies, and he's right. Count Han Tae-soo gets an update from his butler. Apparently, his son is finally starting to act like a human being. The Count is stunned. His son Si-ha was a hopeless case for years, but now he's actually changing. He remembers being harsh to keep him away from dark magic, but maybe his tough love finally worked. Since Si-ha is his only heir, this sudden improvement is definitely a win for the family. He slams the desk. If the kid is finally serious, it's time to start backing him with some real cash. He's even willing to double down on support if Si-ha lands a spot in the magic department. Fast forward to the academy, the sun is out, and the students are buzzing for the big event. Han Si-ha heads straight for the magical ATM to see if his dad's promise was legit. Holy crap, he's loaded. The Count just dropped enough magic stones to buy a small town. This is more than enough to live like a king for a whole semester without lifting a finger. Si-ha is feeling pretty genius. Tricking that punk Creek into spreading good rumors really paid off. His classmate ruins the vibe by reminding him that the advancement ceremony is about to start. The second-year students pack the auditorium, anxious to find out which department they'll land in. The magic department is the go-to for anyone who wants to flex some high-tier firepower. Then there's natural sciences for the nerds who like books, experiments, and magic theory. Theology is basically for the spiritual types who spend their time looking at prophecies and crystal mummies. And then there's necromancy, the only legal spot to study black magic. Total edgelord territory. Dean Warnes takes the stage to officially kick off the ceremony for the new second years. He presents the magic dice, basically a off-brand sorting hat that detects your innate talent. One touch and this cube decides your entire future based on your hidden potential. Si-ha starts sweating. In the original novel, he was stuck in the sketchy necromancy department. The old Si-ha was a bitter loser who used black magic for revenge, only to get absolutely wrecked. He wonders if his recent good deeds were enough to dodge that bullet and change his fate. The dean calls up Lee Han, the guy everyone knows is going straight to the magic department. The crowd starts buzzing. Lee Han being number one is the least surprising news of the century. Here comes the golden boy, walking up to the stage with that classic main character confidence. This is Lee Han, the actual protagonist of the story. He's handsome, talented, and kind of annoying. Si-ha watches from the crowd, feeling a bit salty about the guy's literal main character buff. Li Han taps the dice, and it lights up like a rave. No mystery here. Boom, Li Han is officially magic department material. Exactly like the script said. Next up is the silver-haired genius, Solia Arcanant. She's a legendary light magician and the protagonist's closest ally in the original story. Solia heads to the magic department too. The dream team is forming. The ranking list continues, and familiar names keep getting their assignments. Seymour Parker gets sent to necromancy, while Yoon Hae-ol lands in theology. Finally, the big one. The dean calls out Han Si-ha's name. Si-ha takes a deep breath and heads up, his entire future hanging in the balance. He knows the future. In 3 years, the necromancy students start a massive, bloody rebellion. And then they all get slaughtered by the protagonist's group. Talk about a death flag. He's praying to any god listening, please, just don't put me in the necromancy department. The students are whispering, noticing how much different he looks compared to his old self. He reaches for the magic dice. One touch to decide if he lives his best life or dies a villain. The dean watches as the magic dice glows a vibrant red, a color that definitely wasn't expected. He's legitimately stunned. This kind of raw talent usually doesn't come from someone like Si-ha. It's official, Han Si-ha is assigned to the magic department. He can't believe he actually dodged the bullet. The crowd is going nuts. Half of them are wondering how a loser like him made it into the elite department. His classmate, Jo Yurin, comes over to congratulate him. It looks like they'll be stuck together from now on. Wait, was she actually rooting for him? She seems way more invested in his future than he thought. Jo Yurin gives him a cheeky smile. Turns out, she had high hopes for our boy after all. Si-ha is caught off guard. He wasn't exactly expecting a heartwarming moment in the middle of this chaos. She admits she only wanted him here so she could keep beating him in practical exams. Real friendly. Suddenly, Si-ha hears a very familiar voice calling out to him from the crowd. It's Li Han. The original protagonist is actually taking the time to welcome him to the magic department. Si-ha is instantly suspicious. Why is the main character being so nice to a side character like him? Li Han asks Han Si-ha if he was always this interested in the magic department. He offers a handshake, saying he's looking forward to working together. Si-ha stares back, feeling the weight of the original protagonist's gaze. Si-ha takes his hand, trying to keep his cool. They shake on it, but the tension in the air is real. Li Han leans in and mentions hearing about Si-ha's recent dungeon trouble. Si-ha knows he only survived that dungeon thanks to some serious luck. He realizes Li Han is much more observant than he originally thought. Li Han keeps that perfect, main character smile on his face. Si-ha thinks he's too meticulous, just like a hero from a web novel. The thought of being investigated by the hero makes Si-ha sweat. He wonders if Li Han already sees him as a villain to be eliminated. Students buzz with excitement as they check out the brand new dorms. Si-ha lugs his suitcase through the hall, searching for his room. He steps inside and is stunned. The place looks like a 5-star hotel room. He checks his assignment while admiring the fancy new living space. Building A, room 203. This is definitely the right spot. He opens the door and is immediately greeted by a high-energy stranger. The guy points at him like he's just found a long-lost celebrity. Si-ha is completely caught off guard by the enthusiastic greeting. The roommate is hyped to be living with the guy who made a royal cry. Si-ha forced a smile, remembering how that whole mess started. Fabian Den Edwin was complaining about being stuck in necromancy. Si-ha decided to give the arrogant blonde royal a little reality check. He whispered a secret that left Fabian completely paralyzed with shock. Si-ha walked away, thinking he just dealt with a minor nuisance. He didn't expect Fabian to break down and start sobbing right then. The crowd was horrified that Si-ha could crush a royal with words. So much for Si-ha's plan to graduate quietly and safely. The roommate introduces himself as Li Won, the new guy in magic. Si-ha freezes. He knows that name from the original story. Li Won was Li Han's top ally and a legendary informant. Seeing that friendly face now is a massive red flag for Si-ha. He realizes his roomie was one of the people who helped kill him. He sighs deeply, wondering how his luck could get any worse. He drops his suitcase, officially moving into his den of enemies. Li Won grabs a book and suggests they go explore the campus. First stop is the cafeteria, which looks more like a grand ballroom. Li Won warns him that the food here is a bit experimental. Tonight's special is fire boar salad, and it looks straight up cursed. Next, they hit the outdoor magic practice area. Lee Won says students get carried out of here every term, but he's impressed Siha is smart enough to worry. Siha had finally hit his limit with Lee Won's chatter and suggested they call it a day. The guy just flashed a bright smile, seemingly oblivious to Siha's growing headache. Still, Siha had to admit that his new roommate was a walking encyclopedia of secrets. But the peaceful tour came to a screeching halt when the sky suddenly turned pitch black. Lee Won looked up in confusion, wondering if a sudden rainstorm was about to hit. These weren't normal storm clouds, they were swirling masses of thick, ominous energy. When the rain finally hit, it was a black, oily sludge that reeked of dark magic. Siha grabbed Lee Won, sensing that they needed to get away from the open balcony immediately. He stood there in shock as the horrific details of this game event played out in his mind. The once pristine grass was instantly dissolved and turned into a dark, toxic puddle. Voices screamed out in terror as the students realized the black rain was actually poison. Siha looked out at the chaos, knowing the smog was just a cover for a much bigger threat. Panic reached a fever pitch as students realized some of their classmates had already vanished. When Siha heard that Adela and Solia Arcanant were gone, his worst fears were confirmed. Just as he suspected, a system notification popped up to announce a new main quest. The dormitory kidnapping incident had begun, and the academy was no longer a safe haven. The sky turns pitch black as a storm rolls in, and it's definitely not your average rain shower. The forest is looking like a straight-up horror movie set, complete with jagged cliffs and eerie mist. And of course, Adela and Solia Arcanant are caught right in the middle, tied up like Christmas hams. Adela tries to break free, but these vines aren't playing around. Brute force is a total bust. Solia tells him to quit wasting his breath. Apparently, these things are reinforced with magic. She's been analyzing the situation, but even a genius like her is coming up empty-handed. Adela sighs. They've been stuck in this wooden prison since that creep in the black robe abducted them. He remembers the hooded figure who trapped them both inside this giant tree and just vanished. He wonders why they were even targeted. He's just a commoner, so it's not like his family has ransom money. The whole vibe is giving him major flashbacks to that disaster in the Error Dungeon. He wonders how the Sihan would handle this. Probably with a lot more style and less complaining. He quickly shakes it off. Thinking about that guy just makes him want to punch something even more. He turns to Solia with a sudden realization. He's finally got a theory about their leafy captor. He points out that the tree has one glaring weakness: it absolutely hates the light. That black smog in the sky isn't just for show, it's actively blocking the only thing that can hurt this tree. Solia agrees. This whole setup feels way too designed to be a natural accident. She looks up, her eyes glowing with focus. If it's a design, then it's one she can break. She's impressed he noticed the weakness. Time for the rank 2 genius to show what she's got. She confirms that the toxic rain and smog are pure black magic, the ultimate vibe killer for wizards. But she's got the perfect antidote: light magic. Specifically, her purification of the earth skill. Adela steps back and lets her cook. He's happy to let the pro handle the heavy lifting for once. Solia starts her chant, and a divine light begins to radiate from her body, pushing back the dark. The vines start to smoke and sizzle as the light hits them. It looks like they've finally caught a break. Adela watches the light show, hoping this doesn't backfire in a spectacular explosion. But just as they're making progress, a mocking voice tells them to stop with the foolishness. A massive wave of dark energy slams into Solia, completely shattering her light spell in an instant. The tree vines tighten their grip, and things go from bad to "we're definitely doomed" in seconds. The black fog starts seeping into their minds, and Solia can barely keep her eyes open. She gasps for air as the dark magic begins to gnaw away at her thoughts and senses. A voice whispers through the wood, offering her a proposal that sounds way too sweet to be real. The tree addresses Solia directly, promising to restore the fallen Arcanant family to its former glory. It plays on her deepest grief, asking if she's tired of fighting tooth and nail just to survive. The ultimate bait, it offers to revive her dead family members with a simple flick of its power. Solia's resolve starts to crumble. The thought of seeing her family again is more than she can handle. Adela notices her dazed expression and screams at her to wake the hell up. He tells her to get a grip, she's not the only person who's had a rough life and lost everything. He turns his mockery toward the tree, calling it out for being a pathetic piece of talking wood. He dares the tree to offer him the same deal, acting as a human shield to draw the spell away from Solia. He realizes it's mind control magic that exploits a person's deepest desires to corrupt them. He gambles that they can overcome the spell with nothing but sheer, stubborn willpower. He tells the gloomy tree bark that time's up. There's no way he's making a deal with a plant. Adela tells the entity to stop hiding behind its bark and show its true, ugly form already. The giant tree begins to warp and shift, and it's definitely not a friendly forest greeting. Dark vines erupt from the ground and snag Adela. The tree is basically telling him he's too weak to even bother killing properly. He's pinned down and can't dodge. Just as things look bleak, a massive flash of lightning cracks open the sky. A massive pillar of light slams into the dark forest, looking like a literal act of God. Adela watches the explosion in total disbelief. She wonders if Solia somehow pulled off a last-minute miracle. But Lee Won is checking on her, and Solia is still out cold. If it wasn't her, then who's the mystery sniper? Han Siha steps out of the light with Basil on his shoulder, looking like a total boss. He's pretty pleased with how that went. Adela is losing her mind. She wants to know how he found them and how a student could pull off that insane light show. He just gives her a smug smirk. Apparently, he thinks she's got a bit too much to say for someone who almost became tree food. It turns out it wasn't even high-tier magic. He just used a magnifying glass from Lee Won's bag to boost some basic light tricks. Adela asks if he's actually okay after that stunt. He brushes it off with a, "What do you think?" "I'm totally fine." He pulls out a sword, looking like he's finally ready to end this wooden nightmare once and for all. He hands the blade to Adela and tells her it's time to get some payback. She's looking ready to chop some wood. Adela realizes this is the old practice sword. Siha gives a cheeky smile, teasing her for getting buried alive. Adela isn't even surprised. She knew Siha's temper was going to lead to a beatdown. Since their opponent is a dark magician, Adela isn't planning on holding anything back. The villain is clearly losing his cool, clutching his head as his dark form starts to crack. He looks absolutely unhinged. It seems like he's finally revealing his true, monstrous form. Siha just keeps the taunts coming, asking if he should go ahead and burn the other eye too. The mage isn't amused, swearing to kill these pathetic brats once and for all. Instead of attacking, he uses his magic to seal off the space with massive dark roots. With his strength supposedly returned, the mage decides it's finally his turn to strike. He mocks Han Siha, calling him an ignorant little fool for trying to stand against him. Dark energy swirls around him, whispering failures and insults directly into Siha's mind. It's a classic mind control spell, designed to gnaw away at his brain and break his spirit. The mage thinks he's won, but Siha just finds the whole experience pretty unpleasant. Siha explains that those kind of memory-based tricks don't affect him at all. The villain is stunned. The conditions were perfect, the spell should have worked. Siha leans in with a smug grin, asking the guy if he's the one who's actually weak. The mage has fused with an ancient tree called Latismus to boost his mental magic. But psychic monsters like this have a huge weakness: they usually have zero durability. Siha calls over Basil, knowing exactly how to handle a target like this. He checks with Adela. The tree is weak to light, but it's also incredibly weak to fire. He tells Basil to go all out. It's time to turn this overgrown weed into charcoal. The little dragon lets out a roar, ready to unleash his flames on the dark roots. A massive burst of fire erupts, scorching everything in its path and lighting up the cave. The mage strikes back with a dark shockwave, sending Siha flying across the ground. Siha's first thought is for Basil, terrified that the little guy might have taken the hit. He's relieved the kid is okay, but he tells Basil to stay focused, the fight isn't over. Suddenly, a massive trunk slams down right where Siha was sitting just seconds ago. Adela steps in at the last second, blocking the blow and telling him to get up already. She gives him a smirk, reminding Siha that he definitely owes her one for that save. Siha is barely catching his breath, realizing he was inches away from certain death. They manage to land a hit, but they need a much stronger blow to finish this off. Solia Arcanant is starting to recover, but they're still facing a powerful dark mage. Adela looks at Siha, trusting that he's got a way to get them out of this mess. He gives her a confident look. He's got exactly one trick left in his bag. Suddenly, it starts pouring rain inside the cave, and the mage just laughs at the failed spell. The villain thinks he's won, bragging that the light is gone and his territory is restored. He traps Siha's legs with his roots, shouting, "Got you," as he prepares for the kill. But Siha just smiles. He can't believe the mage actually took the bait so easily. He pulls out a metal rod as the rainwater soaks every inch of the cave floor. He slams the rod down, using the water as a conductor for his final spell, lightning. With a massive roar, a bolt of electricity tears through the cave, frying everything in sight. The dark magician is stunned that a basic lightning spell just completely dismantled his massive tree fusion form. Han Siha just stands there, mentally checking off another box on the cliché villain dying monologue list. But the guy's last words are about finding some cube, and Siha's internal alarms start ringing immediately. The mage turns into a pile of ash before he can elaborate, leaving Siha with a whole lot of questions. Siha remembers the cube from the original novel, but his thoughts are cut short by a voice calling his name. He snaps his head around, realizing his private victory lap has officially been gatecrashed. Solia Arcanid steps forward with a smile, praising his strategy and suggesting they have a little chat. Solia Arcanid approaches Han Siha, genuinely impressed by the way he led them through the battle. Han Siha plays it cool, though the praise is definitely a nice change of pace from his usual reputation. Solia is still processing how a Tamer managed to outstrategize a genius magician like herself. She recalls how his advice on using the damp environment to boost her spells was a complete game-changer. Without her quick light barrier spell, he knows he would have been burnt to a crisp in that mess. Solia continues to glaze over his judgment, making it clear she sees him in a whole new light. It was almost as if he knew her magic better than she did, leaving her completely stunned. Han Siha hands her the staff back, leaving a lasting impression on the academy's top student. Adela interrupts the moment, wondering why a high-level dark wizard would even bother targeting them. Han Siha reflects on the snippets of conversation he managed to overhear from the villain. The plan was to kidnap the academy's brightest stars and turn them into brainwashed puppets for his game. Basil doesn't care about the dark magician, he's just relieved his tamer is alive and well. The little dragon makes a huge scene, acting like he's the one who was in danger the whole time. Li Won jokes that his friend is an S-rank tamer but F-rank at reading the room. Han Siha takes a moment to breathe, the weight of the victory finally starting to sink in. There's a new sense of belonging among the group after surviving the life-and-death ordeal together. Experiencing actual camaraderie is a weirdly refreshing feeling for the once lonely student. But the day isn't over yet, and there's still one more stop to make in the swamp. Li Won complains about the muck as they wander deeper into the restricted forest area. Han Siha stays focused, retracing the steps of the novel's original hero to find a hidden prize. His eyes light up when he finally spots the landmark he was looking for. Hidden in plain sight within the academy grounds is a legendary secret door that shouldn't exist. Han Siha reaches out to the ancient stone, feeling the faint hum of sealed magic. With a heavy rumble, the entrance to the hidden treasure room slowly reveals itself to them. In the original story, the hero Li Han was supposed to find this hoard after rescuing Solia. But since Han Siha got here first, the Mountain of Gold has a brand new owner. Li Won is absolutely speechless, staring at the pile of wealth like he's just won the lottery. He's already planning his early retirement after hitting the literal jackpot in a swamp. He suddenly gets suspicious, asking how a regular student knew exactly where to find buried treasure. Han Siha casually lies about a history lesson, hoping his friend doesn't ask for a syllabus. Basil doesn't need an explanation, he just wants to dive headfirst into the shiny gold coins. The tamer watches his dragon go full treasure hunter mode on the hoard. It turns out Basil has a massive obsession with anything bright, yellow, and expensive. He realizes the dragon treats solid gold bars exactly like the cheese snacks he loves so much. Li Won asks if he can grab a few things too, since they're basically billionaire buddies now. Han Siha agrees, letting his friend join in on the looting spree within reason. While the others focus on the gold, he picks up a specific, unassuming wooden chest. Gold is nice, but in this bleak survival story, power is the only true currency worth having. This is the exact chest the original protagonist used to get ahead in the plot. Li Won comes over to see what he found, only to be disappointed by a dusty old book. His heart nearly stops the second he reads the words "Dark Magic" written on the cover. He panics, begging Han Siha to put the cursed thing down before it rots his brain. Han Siha tells Li Won to relax, he's got the whole situation under control. On cue, the book erupts in a blinding, golden flash of magical light. It's not a curse, the spellbook is just synchronizing with its new owner's soul. The scary cover vanishes, replaced by a much friendlier, beginner magic spellbook. He realizes this high-grade loot automatically adjusts its contents to match the user. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he realizes he just hit the jackpot. This thing is basically a cheat code that lets him learn a year's worth of magic in seconds. While every other student is sweating blood, he's about to download the whole curriculum. Lee Won is a little concerned by the sudden evil laughter, but Han Si-ha is too busy winning. He signals it's time to bounce, though Lee Won is still busy stuffing his pockets with gold. Even Basil is having the time of his life, looking like a tiny, gold-obsessed dragon king. As they start to head out, Han Si-ha stops dead in his tracks. A mysterious, ethereal voice echoes through the room, calling him an outsider. The sudden chill down his spine confirms that he's definitely not imagining things. He looks around frantically, but it seems he's the only one who can hear the ghost. The book glows again, as if it's acting as a bridge for this strange presence. The voice welcomes the one who crossed worlds and warns that he's twisting the entire story. Han Si-ha realizes that his survival is starting to have some major consequences. In the original story, he was never even supposed to make it past the prologue. He was just a minor character destined to be cut out of the narrative entirely. But the character who was meant to die is now the one holding all the cards. Carmen is the legendary book that sees through all myths. It's the absolute prophecy book. No matter how much you try to deny it, whatever that book says is set in stone. Si-ha wonders if he should have just stayed an outsider and lived a quiet life far from the drama. He's a stranger in a world where he was never supposed to be the main character. But the prophecy claims he's the ink that can change the entire trajectory of this world. If he does nothing, this world will inevitably walk the path of total destruction. Si-ha wakes up in the infirmary feeling like he's been hit by a truck. Hearing the secrets of the universe comes with a hefty physical price tag. One was worried sick after Si-ha suddenly fainted out of nowhere. One tells him to rest up while he heads out to grab some supplies. Left alone, Si-ha's thoughts only get more complicated by the second. His small changes are already causing major butterfly effects for the actual main characters. If he messes up his role, the entire Ardal Empire could end up in flames. He wouldn't survive a world that's perished. It's the absolute worst-case scenario. He's already messed up his own fate enough in his past life. Memories of being betrayed and humiliated still haunt him to this day. He never wanted to live through that kind of soul-crushing despair ever again. But he can't ignore the stabbing pain in his heart when he thinks about the end. He sits there, seriously contemplating his next move in this dangerous game. As the only one who knows the future, he isn't just an outsider anymore. He's still just himself, but his original nature is starting to take over. The Academy is trying to hush up the Dark Wizard's kidnapping attempt. Instead, they praise Si-ha and Adela for their courageous rescue of a classmate. But now, the first practical magic assignment is finally here. It's the one thing every student fears, a dreaded group project. It's the classic battle between the bus drivers and the free riders. Between the trolls and the troublemakers, Si-ha is already exhausted. At this academy, group projects are apparently harder than hunting monsters. The mission: explore dungeons and bring back specific rare items. Higher level dungeons mean more bonus points, but the clock is ticking. Professor Ernest tells the class he's looking forward to seeing some teamwork. And the worst part? He's letting the students choose their own groups. Si-ha just prays for a responsible teammate to fall into his lap out of nowhere. Ask and you shall receive, someone's already walking up to him. It's Lee Han, the original story's protagonist, asking to join his group. The entire classroom goes dead silent as they process the request. Everyone starts whispering, wondering why the top genius is asking a guy like him. Si-ha double-checks if the guy is actually being serious about teaming up. Then he drops a cold no, because working with the hero is too much work. The rejection hits Lee Han like a bolt of lightning, leaving him devastated. His friends can't believe he just rejected the Academy's golden boy so coldly. Si-ha stands his ground, he's comfortable with the crew he already knows. Si-ha is officially panicking. He's desperate to change the topic before things get even more awkward with the main character. Lee Won is all about the new drip, explaining how the ties change depending on your department once you hit the second year. Si-ha just smiles, realizing that no matter how legendary these guys become, they're still just excitable kids at heart. But the vibe shifts as he remembers the hidden rewards in this world that were originally meant for the protagonist. He's done being a bystander. It's time to actively dive into the world's secrets, and it all starts in 2 days. The group agrees to meet up and head off to prepare, leaving the quiet academy hallways behind. But someone is already watching. A rival group has gathered intel on Si-ha's every move. They know he's heading to the haunted forest, and for them, this timing couldn't be more perfect. The leader smirks, planning to lay some groundwork to ensure Siha doesn't come back in one piece. The day of the dungeon entry has finally arrived. Han Siha leads the group deep into the academy library. The entrance to the Ghost Forest dungeon is hidden right behind these shelves. Siha mentions the rumors of ghosts roaming the library at dawn. Adela lets out a scream as a pale figure suddenly appears. Siha stays calm and asks the mysterious boy who he is. Judging by his tie, he's definitely not a magic student. He introduces himself as Usher Barton, a first-year student. Usher wants to join them on their dungeon raid. Usher is a known prodigy with an extraordinary talent for foresight magic. Siha realizes having a foresight user on the team is a massive advantage. Usher looks startled and asks if they saw something too. Siha senses that the kid has a very specific goal in mind. Suddenly, another student comes rushing toward them. A girl jumps out and scares Adela all over again. It's Yoon Hae-ul, a theology student here as Usher's guardian. Usher saw something in a vision and has been following Siha ever since. Usher is usually quiet, so this sudden obsession is strange. Siha is skeptical, worried about spies sabotaging their mission. Yoon Hae-ul explains that she's only here because of Siha. She leans in and tells him he's totally her type. Siha is completely caught off guard by the confession. She says it was love at first sight the moment they met. She's gushing over his hair and that one-sided smile. She's apparently a famous, handsome guy collector at the academy. Siha feels like he's losing his mind, but they need the extra help. With the new recruits added, it's time to dive in. They pull the hidden book that acts as the key. A blinding light bursts out from the bookshelf. The dungeon entrance is finally open. Basil is already sweating just looking at the portal. Siha holds the little dragon close to calm him down. The team steps through together. No turning back now. Explosions rock the area as they engage the first wave. Adela and Lee Won lead the charge, clearing a path. Siha is impressed by their perfect teamwork. They use 2 special blindfolds to navigate the ghost-filled woods. Without these, the ghost monsters would be completely invisible. Siha is glad they planned their coordination in advance. Adela and Won take the lead as the eyes of the group. Solia and Basil handle the firepower, clearing out the minor mobs. Everything is going according to Siha's perfect plan. Usher and Yoon Hae-ul watch in awe. The team is crushing it without any help from the theology students. Han Siha tracks the ghosts effortlessly, moving with the precision of a trained warrior. Usher's eyes go wide. His foresight revelation about this guy was absolutely correct. In the vision, the outcast of the magic department stood at the center of a blinding light. Usher is convinced. This is the man who is destined to save the entire world. But he's pulled out of his thoughts by a sudden, chilling realization. Something is coming. Usher screams a warning. There's a massive power surge coming from the right. A thick, purple mist pours out of the building. The ground itself starts to shake. The tension is thicker than any monster horde they've faced so far. This is on a different level. It's the boss. A giant reaper with a massive scythe emerges from the purple flames. This monster doesn't just kill, it reads your memories to inflict direct mental damage. Siha and Solia prepare themselves. They're the only ones who can withstand a mental assault. The boss swings its scythe with terrifying speed, cutting through the very air. A wave of dark magic hits Siha before he can even blink. His vision starts to blur. He tries to focus, telling himself to ignore the voices and hold on to his fading mind. But the world completely fades away, leaving him alone in a pitch-black void. He realizes he's trapped inside the boss's ultimate ability, the Void Chamber. This boss is far more formidable than a typical B-grade dungeon should have. Something is off. Siha calls out for his friends, but his voice is swallowed by the endless emptiness. Suddenly, a dark voice rings out from the shadows, accusing him of being a killer. The insults keep coming, mocking him for acting tough when he should have just backed off. A figure begins to materialize out of the darkness in front of him. It looks too familiar. It's a man in a modern suit with an intern name tag. A real memory from his past life. Some things never change. Siha reflects on his past life as a vet intern, comparing it to his current struggle at the academy. He remembers the cold stares. Back then, everyone saw him as a pathetic traitor for speaking up. The hospital was full of gossip. People couldn't wait to trash the intern who betrayed his senior. But Siha didn't care. He did what needed to be done, and he never regretted it for a single second. The senior he reported was a straight-up psychopath, a monster responsible for killing innocent people. Status didn't matter. Siha gathered the evidence and exposed the man's crimes to every hospital in the country. His reward? Being shunned by everyone. They valued a fake god more than the truth. The isolation took its toll. Just as he was about to enter surgery, his body finally reached its limit. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. For a surgeon, this was a career-ending nightmare. His superior didn't care about his reasons. One sign of weakness, and he was banned from the OR forever. It was mental. His repressed trauma was manifesting as physical tremors in the operating room. He hit rock bottom. All his talent as a genius in turn meant nothing if he couldn't hold a scalpel. The insults kept coming. People laughed at the pathetic student who turned into a trembling mess. Every day was a battle for sanity. The constant whispering felt like it was eating him alive. Finally, he'd had enough. He walked away from the hospital and his dreams on his own terms. He went from a star student to a failure. His name was just a reminder of his incompetence. Same name, different world. The Han Siha of this academy is carrying the same heavy burden. He thought time would heal him, but the trauma of his past life is still lurking in his soul. Suddenly, a light pierces the darkness. Something is calling him back to reality. It's Basil. The little hatchling isn't about to let his tamer rot in some mental illusion. Basil forced his way into the dungeon boss's mental space. Talk about a loyal companion. This is the true power of taming, a connection that bridges two hearts through magic. Basil is more like an emotional puppy than a fierce dragon, and honestly, Siha needed that hug. He realizes why he stood up to that doctor. It wasn't rebellion, it was his core sense of justice. The fog is gone. Thanks to Basil, his mind is clear, and he's ready to finish this dungeon. But Basil spotted something. He's pointing at a hidden secret lurking in a corner of the room. Something's there. Basil's excitement is leading them straight to a rare find. It's a hidden item. Tucked away inside the core of the monster is a glowing surprise. Being inside the monster's domain has its perks. Hidden treasures are now fully visible. The ghost lamp. The literal core of the dungeon boss is now right in front of him. The plan is simple: destroy the heart, and the nightmare. Siha is ready to pull the plug. Basil gets into position. It's time for one last combined attack to shatter this illusion. Basil unleashes a massive wave of fire, lighting up the entire mental space. Triple arrow. Siha lets fly with his magic, aiming straight for the glowing core. Direct hit. The mental space collapses as Siha snatches his prize from the wreckage. He hasn't changed. He's still the same guy who fights for what's right, only now, he's got backup. Back in the real world, the team is hyped. Siha finally emerged from the void after taking down the boss. Victory! The ghost forest has been cleared, and the team can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Lee Won is stunned. Finding a hidden item like the ghost lamp is practically unheard of. But Solia is suspicious. Something about this dungeon's difficulty doesn't add up. High-level mental magic in a B-grade dungeon? This wasn't a normal raid, it was a setup. Even the magic power in the lamp is off the charts. They've just stepped into something much bigger. Siha's gut was right, something is definitely off. He realizes two of the other students have completely vanished. Lee Won and Solia are just as confused. 1 minute they were there, and the next, they were gone. A shadow looms over them. The monster in the dark has finally decided to show its face. Found them. Yoon Hae-ul and her friend are suspended in mid-air, tied up by creepy magical tentacles. A smug voice echoes through the trees. To this guy, the captured students are just sacrifices for his little experiment. This is bad. A full-on demon necromancy ritual is underway, and Siha can feel the dark magic in the air. The mastermind reveals himself. It's Seymour Parker, the head of the second-year necromancers, and he's got a nasty smirk. Seymour calls out to Siha directly. He's been lurking in the shadows, waiting for them to be exhausted from the boss fight. He brings up Siha's past. Apparently, being close to the losers in the first year was just part of the plan. Seymour offers a deal. He thinks Siha is just playing house with the heroes and wants him to show his true dark heart. Solia and the team aren't backing down. They might be outnumbered, but they aren't going anywhere. The ultimatum is on the table. Join the dark side or get crushed. Seymour Parker thinks he's already won. He's practically begging Siha to join his little secret project. Siha plays along, but he's not buying it. Seymour admits they're short-staffed after he ditched them. Demon summoning? That's a bold choice for a school project. Adela overhears everything from the bushes. She's shaking. Dark magic in the academy? These necromancers have some serious guts. Seymour's getting way too comfortable. He really thinks he and Siha are best buddies now. Adela's having second thoughts. Was Siha's hero act just a way to get them to lower their guard? Seymour is practically on his knees. He just needs one more thing to make the summoning work. Look at that smirk. He thinks he's the main character of this story. He's got the pig's blood and the demon roots ready. Now all he needs is a medium. Adela is lost. What kind of medium could possibly be worth all this trouble? Seymour's ego is through the roof. He thinks anyone who isn't a top-tier magician is basically trash. Here's the catch: to host a demon, you need someone with incredible power to act as a vessel. A strong human being. That's the missing piece of his twisted puzzle. Adela's fuming. The stronger the magician, the better they work for the summoning magic. Solia realizes she's next on the list. A holy lineage is basically a 5-star meal for a demon. Seymour is thrilled. He really thinks he and Siha are on the same wavelength. He offers a handshake to seal the deal. Big mistake, buddy. Siha says hello with a face full of lightning. That's one way to turn down a job offer. Seymour hits the deck. He definitely wasn't expecting a high-voltage greeting. Siha isn't done. His hand is still crackling with energy, ready for round 2. You overlooked a few things, Seymour. For starters, I'm not as dumb as you look. Siha looks like a total boss. He tells Seymour he made 2 mistakes, trusting him and underestimating him. Seymour struggles to stand, his pride taking a bigger hit than his health. He can't believe he got played. Fine, if you won't be a partner, you'll be a sacrifice. Seymour lets the dark magic rip. He's going for the kill. He's not letting anyone stand in his way now. A massive explosion of purple magic clears the forest. This guy isn't holding back. Adela rushes in to check on her guy. She's not letting him deal with this creep alone. She's just relieved he's still in one piece. Siha gives her a little grin. Were you worried about me? Typical. Then she gets that scary look. If he actually was a traitor, she'd have ended him herself. That lightning hit was massive, but Seymour is still standing. He's a lot tougher than he looks. Siha knows he's in for a fight. Seymour is a future monster, and he has to end this now. He tells Adela and Solia to handle the small fry. He's taking the boss head on. Adela's on it. She trusts him to handle the big guy while she clears the path. The battle kicks off. Magic is flying every which way as they trade blows. Seymour unleashes a point-blank blast. The raw power difference is starting to hurt. Siha's struggling. This guy is way stronger than he was supposed to be at this stage. In a split second, Seymour knocks the wand right out of Siha's hand. Not good. It's game over. Seymour has him by the throat, and the air is running out fast. You knew too much, Han Siha. It's better for everyone if you just disappear now. But wait. A burst of fire interrupts the party. Basil is here, and he looks very hungry. Skipped plus end of content. Seymour is literally on fire right now. Siha's lungs are burning, but he's just glad to be alive thanks to his little fire-breathing buddy. Basil is really carrying the team. He just hit level 10 and unlocked a new skill called Fire Spike. Talk about perfect timing. Siha is hyped. A pillar of fire that hits everyone except allies? That's exactly what he needed to turn the tide. Fire Spike doesn't mess around. A massive pillar of flames erupts, lighting up the entire forest like a second sun. Li One is having a minor heart attack. If Solia hadn't put up a shield, they'd all be extra crispy thanks to Siha's reckless plan. Siha is feeling the burn. That spell took everything he had left, and he's barely holding it together now. Basil is still going wild. The dragon is on a total rampage, and Siha admits he can't even handle this much power yet. Seymour is like a bad horror movie villain, he just won't stay down. He mocks Siha's taming skills and claims he's got more tricks. Siha can't believe this guy is still breathing. He calls Seymour a cockroach, and honestly, he's not wrong. Seymour has officially lost it. He's glowing with dark energy and swearing to take Siha down with him. He's a real sore loser. Clang! Out of nowhere, someone shuts him up with a solid hit. That's gotta hurt more than the fire. Seymour's ego takes another hit as he realizes someone just blindsided him from the shadows. Siha is just as confused as anyone. Why would a fellow necromancy student be attacking their own team leader? Turns out it's Irene, and she brought a shovel to a magic fight. She's just happy her self-defense shovel actually worked. Irene ditches the hood and rushes over, looking way too sweet for someone who just smacked a guy with a gardening tool. Irene asks if he's okay, but Siha is too dazed to answer. He's just staring at her like she's a mirage. Siha is fading fast. He's barely conscious enough to wonder how she found him before his lights go out for good. The chaos finally dies down, and things start returning to normal at the academy. The Dark Magic Club gets slapped with a suspension while the rest of the team takes some well-deserved rest. Now for the part everyone actually cares about, the group project results. Siha's team straight up crushed it, landing a perfect score on the board. Adela is hyped, but Siha is just trying to stay out of the spotlight after standing out way too much. Later that night, he heads down to the underground prison for a little private meeting. His footsteps echo through the hallway as he approaches one of the cells. He stops in front of the bars, staring down the guy responsible for the recent mess. It's Seymour Parker, and even behind bars, he's still got that annoying smug look on his face. Seymour tries to talk big, asking if Siha came here just to watch him suffer. Siha just smirks. He knows Seymour isn't staying here long anyway. The prisoner isn't exactly feeling the hospitality and tells him to quit the nonsense. Siha points out that a noble family wouldn't just let their son rot in a dungeon. Seymour grips the bars, clearly losing his patience with the taunting. He finally snaps, demanding to know what Siha's actual point is. Siha pulls out a letter and hands it over with a knowing look. He tells Seymour his father will be coming for him soon, and this letter is his get-out-of-jail-free card. Since the Parker family hates shame, they'd usually disown him, but Siha has a plan to stop that. He mocks Seymour for being more scared of his family than of being a dark mage. Seymour looks at the paper, completely clueless about what he's holding. It's a forged letter claiming a dark magic organization was blackmailing him into the summoning. Seymour is floored by how flawless the forgery is, right down to the official symbols. Siha explains that this makes him a victim, making it way easier for his family to save him. Seymour can't wrap his head around why his rival would ever do something this nice. But then a sudden realization hits him, and he looks at Siha in a new light. He stares at the mark on the letter, asking where a student could have possibly gotten a seal like that. Siha just gives him a dark smile, letting him guess who's really pulling the strings. Meanwhile, the mastermind himself is casually having tea in a very fancy office. Dean Ernest asks if the delivery went smoothly, and Siha just nods. He takes a sip, confirming that Seymour took the bait hook, line, and sinker. He thanks the dean for the help, playing the part of the perfect student. Ernest awarded him a special prize for his bravery, telling him he can have whatever he wants. But the dean was caught off guard when Siha's only request was leniency for Seymour. Seymour was the club leader and the main culprit, so simple disciplinary action shouldn't have cut it. Siha explains that Seymour is the type to get way more dangerous if he's fueled by revenge. If they expel him now, he'll just dive deeper into dark magic and become a massive problem later. But by showing mercy, the club disbands and they can steer his talent in a better direction. Ernest laughs, telling Siha he's already got the qualities of a great teacher. Suddenly, a hand slams onto the table as someone pipes up in agreement. Meet Irene, the girl who was going undercover as a student named Natalie. Siha recalls that in the original story, she was just the lovable student everyone adored. It turns out she was actually a spy the dean planted right inside the Dark Magic Club. Dean Ernest explains that the overlooked dark magic research in the necromancy department is finally being addressed. He admits the demon summoning plot was a top-secret mess that almost gave him a heart attack. Irene recalls that she only realized how dangerous things were once they stepped into that dungeon. She credits Siha for saving the day, admitting that without him, the students would have been toast. Siha tries to play it off as self-preservation, but the dean isn't letting him off that easily. Ernest looks at the boy with a certain glint in his eye. Here comes the catch. The dean drops a proposal that immediately gives Siha the worst kind of vibes. He wants Siha to step up and represent Ardal Academy at the International Magic Research Society. Siha is sweating bullets, wishing he could just crawl into a hole and avoid all this extra work. Thanks to his performance, Siha even got extra points on top of his already perfect score. Now he's ranked third in the whole department, right behind Lee Han and Adela. Our boy is straight up suffering from success while Irene just watches him crumble. He slams the table in frustration, realizing that his high rank is just going to bring him way too much attention. Lee Won asks if the campus is in chaos because of the upcoming competition. Han Siha decides to open his dungeon reward to try and lift his mood. After all the trouble he went through, he's praying for a top-tier item. The chest snaps open, releasing a blinding golden light. Both of them are completely stunned by what they see inside. It's a single blue-spotted egg resting on a velvet cushion. Turns out it's an A-rank Terra's egg, guaranteed to hatch a legendary creature. Lee Won loses his mind with excitement, forcing Siha to tell him to pipe down. The scene shifts to the Sinin Empire, where the Magic Research Conference is being held. It's a massive 3-day event where mages compete for their country's honor. On the journey there, Siha is already feeling drained by the competition topic. Adela mentions that the dean had some pretty high expectations for them. He basically told them not to come back without a few awards in hand. Since the topic is herbalism, Adela's already got the study guides ready. Lee Han suggests they start studying immediately to stay ahead. Siha looks absolutely done with this, while Lee Won bails to go get drinks. Once they're alone, Lee Han gets serious and addresses Siha directly. He brings up a mysterious map Siha showed them back at the academy. He asks if Siha still has it on him, warning that it's risky to leave it behind. Siha remembers how pale Lee Han turned when he first saw that map. There's a very good reason Lee Han is attending this event personally. It all revolves around a dangerous artifact known as the Cube. Dark mages have been gathering these cubes to cause absolute chaos. The cube is a massive magic amplifier that can turn any mage into a monster. In the novel, dark mages use them to build a tower and attack the world. Siha recalls how many main characters died tragically in that original story. The Sinin Empire is the very place where the cube is destined to appear. They finally arrive and head straight to the research conference hall. The next few days are a blur of herbalism classes and lectures. They spend their time busy with various activities around the empire. 2 days pass before they know it. It's the night before the competition starts, and Siha is feeling the pressure. He tries to get some sleep, hoping for the best tomorrow. Suddenly, he hears a noise and realizes someone is at his window. He sits up instantly, demanding to know who's there. It's Lee Han, casually peering through the glass like it's no big deal. Siha asks why he didn't just use the door like a normal person. Lee Han explains that invisible scout mages were prowling the hallways. He's not just here to chat, he has a serious favor to ask. He wants Siha to hand over that map once and for all. He's certain that the cube is hidden somewhere inside its secrets. Siha asks Lee Han if he knows about the cube. He figures playing dumb is the safest bet for now. It's clear Lee Han has known the truth about the artifact's nature this whole time. Long ago, Lee Han's parents managed to seal the cube, but they paid for it with their lives. The second Lee Han saw that map, he must have realized the dark mages were active again. As the original novel's hero, he's finally decided to step up and finish what his parents started. Tomorrow's the deadline, and Lee Han is dead set on getting his hands on that map. But Siha isn't budging. He won't hand it over, though he promises he's not the bad guy here. In the original story, the first cube was always destined to fall into the hands of villains. Siha remembers how much Lee Han suffered after that loss. If they fail here, it's game over. So, Siha decides to flip the script. He won't give up the map, but he's coming along for the ride. He looks Lee Han in the eye and tells him to take him along for the mission. Lee Han is hesitant. He knows how dangerous this is and doesn't want to put his friend in danger. Siha doesn't care about the risk. He knows Lee Han never picks the easy route anyway. Besides, the map belongs to Siha. If Lee Han wants it, he's stuck with a partner. Lee Han finally gives in with a smirk. If that's how he wants it, he's got a few conditions. First things first, they're going to crush the competition tomorrow. No excuses. And once that's done, they have a world-saving mission they absolutely must finish. Students fill the Academy's grand lecture hall, buzzing with anticipation for the day's event. Han Siha reflects on a secret conversation he had the previous night about a high-stakes mission. The plan is simple but insane: win the tournament and steal the cube from the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry is a total fortress, and their target is buried deep in the third basement level. Security is tighter than a drum, so a head-on collision is out of the question. Lee Han explains that there's only one way to get past those heavy locks and chains. Winning the tournament is the key. The prize is a VIP tour of the Ministry itself. Sneaking in as guests is way smarter than trying to kick down the front door. Siha drops his next big suggestion with a confident smirk. They need Adela on the team. With her power, their chances of success triple. Keeping her in the dark would be impossible anyway, since the tour is for 3 people. Han is worried she'll back out, but one isn't sweating it one bit. Turns out, Adela is always down for a chance to smash some dark mages. Tournament day hits, and the reality of the situation starts sinking in for everyone. Siha suddenly realizes he actually knows 0 things about herbology. This could be a problem. The room is buzzing as everyone waits for the legendary professor to show up. Enter Bruce Miller, the master of all things green and magical at the academy. He starts with a speech about how magic isn't just for blasting people, it's for saving lives too. Enough with the boring talk, it's time for the rules of the tournament. The task: cook up a unique potion that the world has never seen before. Simple, right? To win, they need a perfect score from every single judge on the panel. No pressure. The other students are already panicking. These judges are known for being absolute perfectionists. Siha realizes the task is way more open-ended and difficult than he expected. No turning back now. He's gotta give it everything he's got to pull this off. People are already calling him a herbid, basically a herbology dropout. Real supportive. Even Adela is doubting him. If he failed the basic stuff, how is he gonna wow the pros? Siha just gives her a nervous grin. He's got a secret ingredient up his sleeve. One sip, and Professor Miller is suddenly feeling a burst of creative inspiration. Another judge looks like he's tripping on pure nostalgia. The potion is a massive hit. Behold, the potion of artistry. It's basically liquid creativity in a bottle. The secret? He straight up spiked the potion with alcohol. Bold move, Siha. He used a special herb to give it a kick and added some flair to seal the deal. And just like that, the crew safely arrives at the front gates of the Ministry of Magic. The interior is just as fancy and grand as you'd expect for the magical government. Professor Miller is still gushing over how clever these students are. They start the tour, but the professor is boring them to death with bureaucracy. Siha and Adela are losing their minds from boredom. This isn't exactly an action movie. Miller is completely oblivious, happily leading them through the mundane hallways. They're on a clock, and wasting time in the lounge isn't part of the plan. One plays the exhausted student card to buy them a minute of freedom. Right on cue, another professor shows up to drag Miller away for a quick chat. Perfect. He tells them to wait right there. Finally, the opening they were looking for. Adela, Han Siha, and Lee Han reach the restricted zone, their faces tight with nerves. Siha confirms the basement door is clear. It's now or never. Lee Han tells them to move fast. Guards could pop up at any second. They hit the third basement level. One shot to find the cube and vanish. Siha is relieved they haven't been detected yet, but he knows the clock is ticking. He pulls out a teleportation scroll. This is their only way out if things get ugly. Security is heavy on the floor below, so they've got a tiny window of safety here. There's a catch: he only has 2 scrolls. Siha is worried about the math. Lee Han insists on giving them to his teammates. He's taking the full risk on himself. Adela spots something shiny and drags Lee Han along to investigate. Siha follows them into the glowing corridor, feeling the tension hit a breaking point. Up close, it looks like a high-security vault. They've finally found it. They move in for the prize, but a hidden laser trips right under their feet. A piercing alarm blares as the hallway is suddenly bathed in emergency red light. Adela and Siha are in a total panic. They're trapped and the guards are coming. But through the noise, Lee Han is dead certain they've found the real cube. The glowing object pulses at the end of the vault, calling to them through the light. Suddenly, a system window pops up for Siha. This isn't just a heist anymore, it's a quest. The stakes just hit the ceiling. Failure doesn't mean jail, it means death. The silence of the vault is shattered as the intruder alarm blares through the halls. Han Siha freezes. A security spell activates, and he realizes he's out of time. A massive explosion rips through the corridor, sending shockwaves everywhere. He rushes through the dark, breathing hard, when he hears the rhythmic clicking of boots. The footsteps grow louder, echoing against the cold stone walls. Professor Devert Grenouille steps into the light, staring down the young student. Han Si-ha tries to play it cool, acting like he just got lost. The professor isn't buying it. He smirks, revealing he's been waiting for them. The truth comes out, this isn't just a teacher, he's a dark mage. He mocks their failed plan and the fact that they've lost their map. Devert gives him a simple choice, step aside or perish right here. Without waiting for an answer, he unleashes a terrifying surge of magic. The blast is too powerful. Adela takes the brunt of the impact. She's thrown back, struggling to stay upright against the overwhelming force. Han Si-ha checks on her, realizing the gap in their skills is just too wide. He pulls out the cube he managed to snatch from the vault. He hands Li Han a teleportation scroll and the cube, his mind already made up. Take it and go first, he commands. Adela panics, refusing to leave him behind to face the mage alone. Just go, he yells, his eyes filled with desperate resolve. They activate the scroll, disappearing into a pillar of light with a final warning. Devert is impressed by the self-sacrifice, but he's not letting his prize escape. He chants a spell, launching a binding cross toward the boy. Magical chains wrap around Han Si-ha, pinning him in midair. The mage demands the location of the remaining cubes, tightening the bind. He laughs at the student's stubborn silence, calling him a cocky brat. Han Si-ha wipes blood from his mouth, a defiant grin spreading across his face. He tells the professor he has absolute faith in his partner. Suddenly, the goat Basil lunges forward, unleashing a devastating blast of fire. The flames engulf the room as the mage screams in agony. The distraction works, the magical chains crumble and set him free. Devert stumbles, clutching his face while cursing the dragon hatchling. Han Si-ha looks at the vulnerable man, wrestling with a dark urge to end it. He grits his teeth, deciding he can't let his own weakness dictate his life. We transition to them sprinting out of there. With Basil clinging to his shoulder, he vanishes into the woods. He realizes he's being hunted by multiple dark mages from the shadows. A magical shield barely holds as spells rain down from all directions. His vision blurs, he's pushed his mana beyond its breaking point. Han Si-ha collapses to the forest floor, his body finally giving out. One of the cloaked hunters draws a magic bow, aiming straight for him. The arrow flies, and everything begins to fade into a cold, terrifying blue. A surge of dark magic explodes, catching Basil right in its path. Han Si-ha is frozen in shock as blood sprays from the impact. Basil releases his fire breath and the little dragon lets out a pained shriek, his life force flickering. The pursuers close in, realizing they need to snag the Tamer to finish off the beast. Carrying his wounded partner, Si-ha bolts through the woods, his heart pounding in his throat. Adela waves him over, leading him away from the mage's line of sight. She's trembling, barely able to process the chaos they just survived. They manage to duck into a safe spot, but the danger is far from over. Adela scolds him for the stunt he pulled, though Si-ha is too busy checking Basil's shallow breaths. It's bad, Basil is in critical condition, and time is running out. Si-ha kicks himself for not acting sooner, realizing he missed the window for basic first aid. Logic tells him it's over, a dragon with a pierced heart is as good as dead. Fragments of his past life as a veterinarian flash before his eyes, mocking his current helplessness. He remembers why he started this journey, to save every creature, no matter the cost. Adela thinks he's gone mad when he asks for elixirs, claiming even experts couldn't fix this. He grabs a creativity-boosting elixir, his last-ditch effort to pull off the impossible. He chugs the potion, letting the magic sharpen his mind to a razor's edge. The world slows down as he finds that one small possibility of success. Draped in the spirit of his former self, Si-ha prepares for surgery. The operation starts now. Han Si-ha pours his mana into the dying dragon. Li Han and Adela can only watch in silence. Adela is tense. She knows red dragons are rare, but this looks like a lost cause. Despite the odds, Si-ha pushes his limits. He's determined to heal a monster everyone else would give up on. Watching his desperation, Adela worries. If this goes south, she might lose Han Si-ha too. Success. He pulls the arrowhead out with a steady hand. Now for the hard part. He starts suturing the wound with surgical precision. He's completely in the zone, focused on every stitch. It wasn't always like this. In his past life, the mere sight of an operating room made his hands shake. The trauma was so bad he eventually abandoned his career. He couldn't even hold a scalpel anymore. But here, everything is different. His hands move with a confidence he never had before. A wave of relief washes over him. He's actually going to save it. It's a miracle. Basil is back from the brink, leaving Lee Won absolutely speechless. Adela is stunned. Treating a monster with surgery instead of magic is unheard of in this world. Just moments ago, Basil's breathing was faint. The wound should have been fatal. Siha collapses. Without a mix of magic and modern medicine, this operation would have been impossible. He realizes he's truly left his old life behind. He isn't just a failed doctor anymore. A system message confirms the success. The healing light has been successfully applied. He shares a quiet moment with the hatchling. "Please, live, Basil," he whispers as he drifts off. He wakes up days later in the academy infirmary, staring at a familiar ceiling. Adela is right there, looking ready to kill him for scaring her like that. While he was out, Ardell Academy cleaned up the mess from the attack. Rumors are flying everywhere about black magicians targeting the top students. Siha isn't surprised. At least he doesn't have to deal with the paperwork this time. Lee Won shows him the prize. A mysterious golden cube that everyone seems to be hunting for. They fought way too hard to let some organization just take it from them. But there's a catch. Lee Won reveals they're being summoned to a trial tomorrow. Siha stares at the cube. He's not letting go of this, trial or not. 1 week later, they're standing in the magic department's courtroom. Professor Louis Maxwell is losing his mind, demanding they be severely punished for breaking in. Professor Bruce tries to play diplomat, suggesting it's all just a big misunderstanding. Maxwell isn't buying it. "You don't misunderstand your way into smashing a high-security vault." He gets right in their faces. "What did you steal?" Siha keeps his poker face. Since the vault's contents are secret, only the owner knows what's missing. The strategy is simple: play dumb. The magic department doesn't even know what was in there. Since there's no evidence, they just have to deny everything. Siha hits them with a bold lie: they just got lost and accidentally broke the vault while looking for the exit. Maxwell is fuming. He knows they're full of it, but he can't prove a thing. The evidence is thin, and the only witnesses are the ones on trial. Professor Bruce realizes they've reached a stalemate. They need the vault's owner to settle this. The courtroom doors creak open. Someone is arriving. Headmaster Ernest walks in with a smirk. Their little legal battle just got a lot more complicated. Louis Maxwell is stunned as Headmaster Ernest walks right into the courtroom to interrupt the trial. Ernest drops a bombshell: he's actually the true owner of the vault the students supposedly broke into. Han Siha and the others are caught off guard, having no idea the headmaster was keeping cubes in a magic department vault. Ernest lies for them, claiming he personally instructed the students to retrieve the cubes for safekeeping. He dismisses the break-in as a simple mistake made by children following his orders. Maxwell is left speechless as Ernest produces a full inventory and proof of ownership on the spot. The trial ends with a slap on the wrist, an apology letter and 30 hours of community service. Maxwell is fuming, but he can't argue with the man who literally runs the academy. Later that night, Ernest summons Han Siha for a private talk. Instead of a lecture, the headmaster hands him a small, mysterious note. He tells him to take it without asking any questions. Back in his room, Siha wonders just how much Ernest really knows about what happened. Ernest reveals that a math professor named Devert Grenouille has completely vanished from campus. The professor supposedly left for a conference and never came back, leaving Siha visibly tensed. He realizes Ernest didn't just give him a note, he gave him a target. The headmaster's final question hits home: do you know anything about it? The dean starts by admitting the academy dropped the ball by not catching Professor Grenouille's true nature sooner. He leans in, asking Han Siha if he's the one who really handled the guy. "How did you survive?" he asks, his curiosity clearly piqued. He points out that a second-year student shouldn't have been able to face a professor alone and live. Siha plays it down, crediting his partner Basil and some serious luck. But the dean isn't buying the luck excuse. He tells Siha he's genuinely talented. He hands over a note found on the professor's shelf, calling it a code he can't crack. It's written in arithmetic, and even the dean is stumped by what it actually means. Siha stares at the paper, realizing the pressure is officially on. He wonders if this is a lead on the next cube location while examining the symbols. The dean smiles, impressed by the kid's cool-headed attitude. In the face of a massive challenge, Siha's calm gaze says he's ready to give it a shot. Cut to Lee Han sitting down with a girl for a status update on how the project is going. Even after everything, Lee Han admits he still doesn't trust Han Siha. Yoon Hae-ul is too busy enjoying her bread to care about his trust issues. Lee Han asks if she already spilled her secrets to the guy. She just laughs it off, saying her crystal ball, Byeolnam, gave her the green light. Lee Han reminds her how shady Siha acted throughout their entire first year. Back then, everyone thought he was a prime candidate to turn into a dark mage at any second. But Hae-ul points out he's done a complete 180 and might not be a bad guy after all. She's clearly a fan now, saying she wouldn't refuse a request from a handsome guy like him. Lee Han warns her to keep a close eye on whatever's about to unfold on campus soon. She just smiles, more interested in the daily fresh bread service he's providing for her help. Then she turns serious, warning that something eerie is definitely on the horizon. Life at the academy continues with a long, exhausted sigh. Adela is stuck doing community service, and she's already sick of the cleaning duty. Meanwhile, Siha is obsessed with polishing a pteranodon egg like it's his only job. Lee Won comes running in, shouting about some major breaking news that's turning the school upside down. He claims the monster of the specimen room has finally made a comeback. Adela and Siha listen as one explains that Lil even went to confront the professor about it. It all started with a scream about a monster appearing, which most people thought was just a ghost story. Without any evidence, the sightings were dismissed as nothing more than rumors. But Siha's expression changes the moment he starts connecting the dots. A system window pops up. It's time for main episode 3, The Drake in the Specimen Room. He knows the monster is real and that it's using its stealth skill to hide from everyone. One explains that even the students have started doing some ridiculous things in response. He mentions rumors of a Drake, and Siha is surprised he actually made a sharp guess. Siha tries to act casual, questioning who would seriously believe such a foolish story. But looking at the chaos, he realizes there are way more fools at this school than he expected. Derek is already rallying a crowd, hyping up the rewards they'd get for a kill. Siha knows a Drake isn't an easy target, just as Solia Arcanant walks into the room. She looks startled, asking if they really intend to join such a dangerous hunting party. Derek looks smug, but Siha knows exactly what he's planning behind that fake smile. He can't understand why Solia Arcanant would even entertain the idea of joining someone like him. She already has everything she needs, so risking her life on a hunt makes zero sense. But to everyone's absolute shock, Solia agrees to join the party with zero hesitation. The surrounding students are completely flustered, wondering if she's actually lost her mind. Siha remembers that in the original story, Derek led a group of clueless students into a trap. The terrifying part is that Solia wasn't supposed to be part of that doomed party at all. He recalls the chilling conclusion of that episode: the entire hunting party simply never returned. Not a single survivor was ever found, meaning Solia might be walking straight into her grave. Solia Arcanant burns the midnight oil, poring over her notes late into the night. She's determined to be the perfect mage her family expects her to be. Her father always told her that true purification magic comes from a pure heart. To be a noble mage, she was taught to never show an ounce of weakness to her enemies. But the pressure is building. She needs to restore her family's honor at any cost. She refuses to let the Arcanant name fade into obscurity after everything they've lost. Losing her top rank to Han Siha was a massive blow to her pride. She's not confident she can beat him in the upcoming final evaluation. But she finds a loophole, a Drake subjugation mission that offers extra bonus points. Drakes are weak to fire and light, which plays right into her strengths as a mage. The rest of the team looks like a bunch of amateurs, which suits her just fine. This is her chance to reclaim her spot as the top student in the academy. Solia is determined to seize this opportunity with her own two hands. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl with a veil is asked for a prediction about Solia. Lee Won tries to bribe her with a piece of bread to get some inside info. She wonders why everyone is suddenly so interested in Solia's future. She gets the wrong idea about his feelings, but he quickly sets the record straight. Han Siha knows Solia was a major character in the novel he once read. He can't let a character this important meet an early end in this world. If he doesn't step in now, things are going to get messy for the subjugation team. The Light Mathematics Club arrives at the specimen room, ready for action. Things go south immediately as a massive explosion rocks the entire room. Solia barely manages to throw up a barrier to protect herself and the team. 2 students are already down, and the darkness in here is suffocating. The leader refuses to retreat, insisting their traps will take the monster down. But the Drake is incredibly smart, it's dodging every single trap they set. It's like the monster knows exactly where they are hiding in the dark. Another student gets taken out as the Drake rampages through the room. They're starting to realize this is far from a normal hunt. In the shadows, someone is watching the carnage and laughing. It's Hugh Stancer, a 5th-year Tamer, and he's the one pulling the strings. He mocks the Academy mages for being so predictably reckless. He's using the Drake to pick them off one by one for his own amusement. This is payback for what happened to the Dark Magicians 15 years ago. His father died in that war, and now he's out for blood. He wants to see them struggle and beg for their lives in the dark. Solia is the last one left standing among her fallen classmates. She's terrified, but she refuses to give up without a fight. She channels her remaining mana into her wand for one final stand. The room fills with a blinding light as she prepares her ultimate spell. But before she can cast it, a hand grabs her arm from behind. Han Siha shows up just in time to take over the fight and save her. Han Siha tells Solia to be ready to use her magic at a moment's notice. He's figured out the Drake's movements are being manipulated from the shadows. As a tamer himself, he can spot the traces of another professional's work a mile away. Siha challenges the hidden tamer to a duel of skills to see who's truly superior. He tosses a glowing orb right into the Drake's open maw, catching it completely off guard. The monster pauses, its predatory instinct suddenly confused by the unexpected snack. Hugh Stancer panics as his connection to the beast starts to flicker and fail. Siha knows that the core of taming is understanding and exploiting a monster's habits. He used the Drake's habit of biting at fast-moving objects to trick it into eating the orb. The dizziness-inducing orb kicks in, leaving the Drake vulnerable and disoriented. He shouts for Solia to strike while the Drake's heart is exposed. Solia unleashes a powerful blast of lightning magic, scoring a direct hit. The impact is massive, tearing through the Drake's tough hide and causing an explosion. With the taming links severed, Hughes realizes the monster is about to go berserk. Desperate, he prepares to use forbidden dark magic to force the beast back under control. Siha senses the ominous aura of dark magic flooding the room. He didn't account for the villain being a dark magician on top of everything else. Suddenly, the system screen appears before him, he's awakened a brand new taming skill. Han Siha gets a notification that he can force an affinity increase on the Drake from the specimen room. Apparently, stealing someone else's pet is an option in this game. He's definitely taking it. He's not one to say no to free loot, he clicks yes without hesitation. He pulls the trigger, hoping this shady taming trick actually works. His mana flares up as he forces a connection with the beast. A massive shockwave of light hits, and the Drake officially bows to its new boss. Taming successful. Just like that, the beast is officially his. Siha pats his massive new dragon wolf while Solia stares like she's seen a ghost. She's losing it, nobody should be able to just snatch a monster that's already been tamed. Siha just shrugs it off, joking that he's always been good with reptiles. Meanwhile, Hugh Stancer is having a mental breakdown over his lost pet. He tries to force his command back, but the taming bond is already broken. Hughes screams that he's the real master, but the Drake has other plans for its old owner. The beast lunges forward and chomps down on the dark mage instead. That's gotta hurt. Siha and Solia just watch the carnage. He tells the beast to spit it out because it's dirty. With the dark mage properly subdued, the chaos in the specimen room finally settles down. Dean Warnest arrives to clean up the mess and investigate the infiltration. He's genuinely shocked to find another dark magician was hiding in the academy. The bad guys get hauled off for punishment, and Siha gets ready for his reward. He walks away with a massive bag of gold from the grateful parents of the students he saved. It's a hefty payout, saving lives really does pay the bills in this world. He checks out his new skill, something that wasn't even mentioned in the original story. Tamer's touch lets him temporarily steal control of lower-level monsters. Pretty broken. Basil is not happy about the new competition and lets out a tiny dragon roar. Siha tries to calm his first dragon down with some well-deserved head pats. But the skill wasn't the only thing he earned from this mess. He clears the specimen room quest and gets a shiny new A-grade loot box. Time to roll. He prays to the gacha gods for something good as the treasure chest starts to glow. Boom, he scores an A-grade subspace wallet. Jackpot. Siha is thrilled. This bag is a total game changer for his inventory management. A bag like this would have cost him a small fortune on the open market. There's an extra bonus too, a reward for keeping everyone alive through the chaos. In the original story, the whole team died, but Siha completely changed their fate. He finds a red note hidden inside the bag and shakes it out onto the bed. It's covered in advanced math formulas that would make anyone's head spin. Siha looks at the equations and realizes they look incredibly familiar. He suddenly yells out in realization, scaring poor Basil in the process. It's the answer to the secret code Dean Wernest gave him before. He was totally overthinking it, the solution was just a simple math equation. He grabs a pen and solves the final riddle in record time. Done. The coordinates lead him straight to the necromancy classroom, room 205. Locker number 14. Whatever's hidden inside, he's going to find it. Han Siha sneaks into the faculty office to check the roster. He discovers student 14 disappeared ages ago, leaving no trace behind. His hunch was dead on, he finds exactly what he was looking for right where it should be. It's another glowing cube, and this one is humming with a lot of power. It's obvious Professor Devert got this from some black mages. Siha tucks it into his subspace bag before anyone spots him. Keeping a secret this big is already making him paranoid. He decides the best move is to stay under the radar for a few days. But his plan to lay low immediately goes down the drain when he hears someone shouting his name across the campus. It's Yoon Hae-ul, and she's still following him like a shadow, pestering him for another date. Siha tells her straight up he's not interested, but she's not taking no for an answer. She ignores his cold shoulder and keeps begging for just one date, turning on the puppy dog eyes. She pulls out an invitation to an astrology contest hosted by the theology department. Siha thinks she's just trying to find a shortcut, and she jokes that maybe the stars told her he'd say that. She explains that winning the contest gives them 3 credits, which is a massive shortcut for any student. For Siha, those credits mean he can finally drop Professor Grint's miserable class next semester. Yoon Hae-ul gives him a wink, reminding him that she's the #1 student in the theology department. She offers him a free ride to a win, and Siha realizes this deal is just too sweet to pass up. He finally agrees, much to her delight. He tells her to cut the flirting and just give him the study materials. He ends up stuck in the library cramming theology, which is the last thing he expected to be doing with his free time. Time flies, and before he knows it, it's the day of the contest. Siha feels incredibly stiff, almost like he slept in the wrong position. Yoon Hae-ul stops him, getting that ominous feeling theology students always talk about, and points toward the stage. Siha looks over and his heart skips a beat when he sees one of the judges watching them. Sitting there is a man with sharp black hair and a cold gaze, and he looks strikingly similar to Siha himself. Siha spots a familiar face among the judges, and it's the last person he wanted to see. It's Han Si-hyuk, his genius older brother who seems to excel at everything. If Siha had known he was a judge, he probably would have skipped this contest entirely. Clad in a sharp black suit, Si-hyuk radiates an aura of cold perfection. Among the external judges, he's easily the most intimidating figure in the room. He's a genius prophet who became a legend in the Ardal Empire at only 12 years old. The twist? He's also the guy Siha shares a very complicated and bitter history with. While Siha was the legitimate child, Si-hyuk grew up facing discrimination as an illegitimate one. That history turned Si-hyuk into a man fueled by deep-seated hatred for his younger brother. In the original story, he was just a petty antagonist who loved making Si-hyuk feel pathetic. He'd always looked down on Siha for clinging to the family name he supposedly didn't deserve. Even now, his gaze is sharp and judgmental, definitely not the look of a loving brother. Now a successful prophet, Si-hyuk likely isn't thrilled to see his disgraceful brother here. Siha just hopes the guy doesn't act petty and give him a low score out of spite. Yoon Hae-ul tells him to stay focused so they can give this their absolute best effort. The test begins, and both of them dive deep into their complex calculations. Siha focuses his energy on the crystal ball, sensing the cosmic alignment. The results are so impressive that some people start suspecting the questions were leaked. The student official quickly shuts down the rumors, insisting a leak is nearly impossible. She's just confused how a magic student is scoring so high in a theology-heavy contest. But with Hae-ul, the top theology ace, as his partner, the magic student is unstoppable. Si-hyuk remains stoic, but he can't deny the sheer talent being displayed on stage. The official steps up to the podium to announce the final winners of the competition. First place goes to the power duo, Yoon Haeul and Han Si-ha. Haeul is over the moon, but Si-ha is just relieved he actually survived the ordeal. She's genuinely impressed by how accurately he identified the hidden object in the box. For Si-ha, astrology became way easier once he started treating it like pure math. Haeul is so blown away that she half-jokingly asks him to join her department instead. They're told they'll receive their trophy soon, but Si-ha's celebration is cut short. Si-hyuk has requested a private meeting, and that's never a good sign for Si-ha. He heads to the private lounge, feeling the weight of the awkward encounter ahead. Si-ha realizes his brother barely had any focus in the original story, making this unpredictable. He has no idea what the guy wants, but he knows it probably isn't anything good. Si-hyuk is already waiting, looking as arrogant and detached as ever. He claims he has some advice for Si-ha, though it feels more like a lecture. Si-ha internally scoffs, expecting another insult about his disgraceful status. Si-hyuk tells him not to get too cocky just because he managed to pull off a win. Si-ha just stares, tired of his brother acting so high and mighty all the time. He sets his tea down and tells him to just get straight to the point. The point is an order: Si-ha must stay at the Kastika family estate this summer break. It's not an invitation, it's a command that Si-ha is expected to follow without question. And just like that, Si-hyuk dismisses him. Typical arrogant behavior to the very end. Si-ha stands outside the room, still feeling the chill from his brother's cold attitude. A few days fly by, the exams are finished, and summer break is finally here. He's managed to secure enough credits to drop Professor Grint's nightmare class next term. Adela greets him with a bright smile, excited that the grueling exams are finally over. She's surprised to hear that Si-ha is actually heading back to his family estate. She's genuinely happy for him, though Si-ha is still adjusting to their new friendship. He can't forget Si-hyuk's direct order to spend his summer at the family estate. Adela admits she's staying at the dorms because her family isn't exactly welcoming. Si-ha notes that her history is still a mystery, even in the original story. They wave goodbye, promising to catch up once the month-long vacation ends. The steam train chugs away from the station as the academy students head home. Si-ha finally reaches the massive, opulent gates of the Kastika family mansion. He thinks about how easy life would be if he just lived like a spoiled rich kid. But the welcome isn't warm as the butler of Kastika estate blocks his way. The butler delivers a blunt order from Han Tae-soo: Si-ha isn't allowed inside without permission. After a year and a half away, he's being shut out of his own house like a stranger. Sunset hits the Han family estate, painting the sky in shades of pink. Han Si-ha is still sitting outside, waiting patiently for a chance to enter. The maids gossip about his persistence, but Si-ha hears every word. Finally, the massive doors creak open. Si-ha looks up, surprised that he's actually being allowed in. He's greeted by the intimidating presence of his father, Count Han Tae-soo. Tae-soo tells him to enter, and Si-ha cautiously follows. The dining hall is massive, with enough food to feed an army. Tae-soo starts eating and immediately brings up the scandal at the ministry. Si-ha realizes his father only turned him away because he thought he'd messed up. Considering his past reputation, the suspicion was actually pretty fair. Tae-soo expects the worst, but he's still quick to hear the latest rumors. Si-ha glares at the butler, knowing exactly who's been spreading the rumors. The silence at the table is awkward as they sit at opposite ends. Si-ha asks if a normal father wouldn't be curious about his son's actual life. Tae-soo stops eating, the atmosphere in the room turning ice cold. He flares his aura, he's not used to his son talking back like this. Si-ha stands his ground and apologizes for the disappointment of his success. He hands over his academy report card to the butler. Tae-soo thinks it's just another lie until he actually looks at the paper. His eyes widen as he sees Si-ha ranked third in the entire academy. Si-ha calmly explains that you can't exactly cheat on practical exams. Tae-soo's hands start to tremble as he stares at the incredible results. The blood count actually starts crying, overwhelmed by his son's growth. He quickly tries to play it cool, telling Si-ha it's about time he matured. Si-ha is just baffled by the sudden emotional 180 from his father. After that dinner, everything at the estate changed in an instant. Servants who used to ignore him are now bowing until they're nearly horizontal. Si-ha knows that having the Count's full support is a massive win. 2 days later, he's back at the academy and ready for the next step. He admits that his brother, Si-hyuk, was right about reclaiming his status. He starts ordering supplies, including 10 horses for his future plans. But there's one specific thing he's been waiting for. He needs high-quality gemstones, crushed into a fine powder. It's finally time for his A-rank Terra egg to hatch. He's been obsessively managing the environment to ensure everything is perfect. Terras are incredibly loyal, which makes them highly valuable for transport. However, they're notoriously difficult to tame, even harder than dragons. If he doesn't handle it right, the hatchling could wreck his entire room. Suddenly, the egg starts to wobble on its own. Siha panics for a second, wondering if he accidentally disturbed it. The shell starts to crack violently, the Terra is finally coming out. The egg shatters before Siha can even process what's happening. A massive burst of energy erupts from the shell as the hatchling makes its debut. Siha is stunned, he actually managed to hatch an A-class monster on his first try. The baby Terra is a bundle of energy, immediately trying to fly away. It lets out a tiny screech, completely unaware of the chaos it's causing. Even as a newborn, this thing is strong enough to push Siha back. His usual affinity isn't working because the little guy is just too excited. Siha realizes he needs to change tactics if he wants to calm it down. He casts a hypnosis spell, hoping to lull the monster into a drowsy state. It works, the Terra starts to settle down, its eyes getting heavy. This is his chance, Siha gently pets it to start the imprinting process. He pulls the little guy into a hug, showing it that he's not a threat. The Terra seems to like its new home, but taming it completely will take another week. Despite the mess in his room, Siha is feeling pretty good about his new partner. News travels fast, and soon enough, someone is absolutely losing their mind. Li One can't believe Siha actually tamed an impossible monster like a Terra. He's practically worshipping him, but Siha tells him to focus on their meeting. They've got bigger things to worry about today, it's time for course registration. Course registration begins under the glow of a massive mana sphere. Li One is buzzing with excitement over a massive scoop he can't wait to share. Han Siha gives him the go-ahead. Spoken like a true informant. Instead of gossip, Siha presents something much more valuable. It's a masterpiece, a perfectly optimized timetable for the next semester. The boy is dead serious about his schedule, leaving One completely speechless. One gets fired up, determined to make the registration a success. The crowd at the Magic Center is insane. Registration here is a battle. At Ardal Academy, timing is everything. Miss the window, and you're done. You have to draw a unique magic circle just to log into the system. Location is key since the magic flow changes from place to place. It's the day before the chaos, and everyone is scouting for the best spot. One managed to score a secret location with incredible magic flow. In modern terms, they're basically just hunting for the best Wi-Fi signal. Siha confirms the flow is strong. The preparation is finally complete. He has one mission, avoid Professor Grint's theology class at all costs. 10 seconds to go. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut. It's live. Everyone starts clicking frantically to secure their spots. The students are panicking, desperately trying to grab any class they can. Siha is a blur of motion, moving with the precision of a pro gamer. One is absolutely devastated. He got stuck with the one professor he hated. On the other hand, Siha managed to secure every single class he wanted. The others are in shock. They think he must have been training for this. He just credits his years of clicking away in internet cafes for the win. But even after all that, the novel's plot refuses to give him a break. A main episode kicks off immediately, the necromancer of the dormitory. Skeletons are summoned all over campus thanks to some rogue dark wizards. The incident was supposed to happen years later, but Siha sped up the clock. Someone calls out his name as the chaos in the dormitory intensifies. Luckily, having powerful friends makes cleaning up the mess a whole lot faster. He walks away with a massive reward, the legendary Ardal staff. But as he checks his final results, he spots a name that shouldn't be there. Professor Grint is teaching his flying class. His worst nightmare is back. Siha loses his mind. All that work to avoid him, and the professor changed. One can only pity him while Basil enjoys a nice head pat. Time skips ahead, and it's time for the Academy's traditional camping trip. It's a second semester program designed for juniors to learn from seniors. They arrive at Keisha Plains. The theme of this trip is simple, survival. Siha lugs his suitcase along, feeling like he's on a reality TV show. The professors want teamwork, but reality is usually a lot more brutal. It's the perfect environment for the seniors to start bullying the juniors. Kazan, a third-year senior, makes his entrance with a terrible attitude. Kazan demands the juniors hand over all their food and supplies to the seniors. Talk about a warm welcome. One of the students tries to protest, since they need those rations to actually survive the camp. Kazan just screams at her to shut up. Rationality isn't really his strong suit. He starts power tripping, threatening to give them the lowest possible scores if they don't obey. He's loving every second of this, yelling at them to move faster like he's some drill sergeant. But Han Si-ha is just standing there, looking completely unfazed by the theatrics. Kazan stomps over, demanding to know why he's just standing around doing nothing. Si-ha calmly confirms that yes, he is refusing to follow such a ridiculous order. Kazan is stunned by the audacity. He can't believe a junior would talk back like that. Si-ha just gives him a cold smile, finding the senior's attempt at intimidation pretty pathetic. Kazan isn't usually a bully, he's just a typical third-year student. But this year's second-years are so talented they're making the seniors look like jokes. And Kazan is definitely not a fan of Han Si-ha's attitude. Kazan decides to confront the academy's newest celebrity. He starts mocking Han Si-ha, assuming his father probably hates him. Han Si-ha just gives him a smug smile and says his dad actually treats him great. The sudden comeback leaves Kazan completely speechless. Han Si-ha reminds him that the dean is watching their teamwork very closely. Being lectured by a junior is the final straw for Kazan. He loses his cool and lunges at Han Si-ha. But he didn't count on the little dragon being protective. Basil takes a nice, deep bite out of Kazan's hand. Han Si-ha pulls Basil back while the senior starts panicking. Kazan sees his own blood and starts screaming for a medic. He vows that Han Si-ha will pay for this scar. Han Si-ha isn't the least bit worried as he pets Basil. He and Lee Won decide it's time to head back to camp. The campsite looks quiet, but trouble is brewing in the shadows. Kazan is still seething in his tent, nursing his wounded ego in hand. Levany asks why he's picking fights with juniors during a trip. Kazan decides that since Han Si-ha thinks he's so great, he can handle a real challenge. He finds the supply bag meant for Han Si-ha's group. Kazan plans to teach them a lesson by sabotaging their gear. He starts tossing their essential supplies aside. Levany is shocked when she sees he only left them one bottle of water. Kazan doesn't care, he wants to see them struggle. The next morning, the survival test officially begins. Adela and Isel immediately notice something is wrong with their bag. One bottle of water for 5 people? They're basically screwed. Adela is convinced that being around Han Si-ha is just bad luck. Isel and Lee Won try to stay positive and move forward. They reach a fork in the road with no clear markings. Han Si-ha decisively tells them to take the left path. He claims he read all about this place in a book. The group is impressed, but they're about to find out books aren't always right. The sun starts to set, and the woods are starting to look very familiar. They realize they've been walking in circles for hours. Han Si-ha realized he might have led them into a trap. Back at the camp, things just got a whole lot worse. Levany discovers that the group's tracking stone is missing. Kazan realizes he accidentally took the stone when he was looting their food. Without it, they can't be tracked, and they're completely lost in the wilderness. Kazan is sweating buckets. He realized he messed up big time by losing that tracking stone. He's more worried about his own reputation than the junior safety. Typical petty senior move. He decides to stay quiet and hopes they'll manage to survive on their own for a few days. Meanwhile, Han Si-ha gets a notification for a new survival quest. As if things weren't hard enough. This training trip is starting to feel more like a dystopian nightmare than a school event. The group is exhausted, hungry, and stuck in a loop thanks to some powerful illusion magic. Lee Won spots a dark opening in the trees, a cave that might finally be their way out. Isel and Lee Won are just happy to find a place where they can stay dry and warm. But Han Si-ha hears a low growl coming from the darkness. They aren't alone in there. A massive, red-eyed boar emerges from the shadows, and it definitely doesn't want guests. Lee Won is still talking about how great the cave is while the girls behind him are losing it. The beast charges out, forcing the starving group into a fight they definitely weren't ready for. Han Si-ha and Adela are out in the woods, watching Basil face off against something big. The little dragon is fuming, and Si-ha wonders if they can just take this thing down. No more waiting. Siha gives the signal, and Basil lunges into the fray. Don't let the size fool you. Basil might be a hatchling, but he's still a dragon. He flies straight at a massive wild boar. This should be a piece of cake, right? Siha is already starting to sweat. Wrong. The boar actually knocks Basil back, sending the little guy reeling. Basil is seeing stars. He's a proud dragon, but a pig just styled on him. Adela isn't about to stand by and watch her friend's pet get bullied. She draws her sword. If Basil can't handle it, she'll do it herself. She charges in, aiming straight for the beast's heart. The blade connects, but this boar is tougher than it looks. Adela realizes something is seriously off about this monster. Lee Won and Irene are losing it. A reinforced creature in the middle of this forest? That's not normal. Siha sighs. Things are just getting harder, and he's out of easy options. He picks up a dizzy Basil. It's time to get serious and try that new move. They've been practicing a secret technique for exactly this kind of situation. Instead of a wide-range breath, Basil needs to focus all his power on a single point. Siha gives the command. Basil takes a deep breath and concentrates. He unleashes Fire Spark, a concentrated blast of pure heat and lightning. The attack hits the boar right between the eyes. That's gotta hurt. The beast goes down hard. Lee Won and Irene can barely believe a hatchling pulled that off. Basil is back to his cheerful self, soaking up all the praise. But Lee Won notices something else. That smoking boar actually smells pretty good. Siha has the same thought. Looks like they're having roast boar for dinner tonight. The realization hits Lee Won, he's the one stuck with the butchering duty. They get a fire going at camp, with Basil helping out as the designated lighter. Soon enough, the forest is filled with the sizzle of grilling meat. It's cooked to perfection. Time to dig in. Everyone is digging in, and even Adela admits it's better than she expected. Lee Won is just glad he's not going to starve to death out here. Siha tells the group to rest while he goes to scout the area. He walks off into the dark, his mind heavy with everything that's happening. He knows it'll take at least a week for the academy to realize something is wrong and send help. In the meantime, they're sitting ducks for more illusion spells or empowered monsters. He's trying to find a way out, but the future looks pretty murky from where he's standing. Adela snaps him out of it, appearing from the shadows to check on him. He looks at her, momentarily speechless. They look up and catch a glimpse of shooting stars streaking across the night sky. Adela wonders if her magic reflects who she really is deep down. She turns the question back on him, asking why he decided to become a tamer. He can't exactly tell her he's an isekai vet living in a novel, so he just plays it cool. Siha looks at Adela, wondering how she even became this insanely powerful in the first place. Adela decides to open up, finally revealing the real reason she chose the path of a mage. It turns out her backstory is as dark as it gets. Her entire village was wiped off the map when she was just a kid. Just like that, everything she knew was buried under the earth, leaving behind nothing but a desolate wasteland. The rumors started flying immediately, talk of dark mages and ancient curses infecting her home. But for Adela, the why didn't matter. All she knew was that her people were gone in a single day for no reason at all. And the worst part? She was the only one who made it out alive. Talk about heavy survivor's guilt. Adela's past is finally clicking into place like a puzzle piece. There's a reason she never spoke of her family, she had nowhere to return to. While others went home, she stayed at the academy to train like her life depended on it. Han Siha watches her, sensing the immense weight of the secrets between them. Suddenly, a loud crack echoes through the chamber as the floor begins to give way. The ground shatters, sending them plummeting into the dark depths below. They crash land into a hidden chamber, far beneath the academy's surface. The impact is massive, shaking the very foundations of the cave. Siha groans in pain, feeling like every bone in his body just got rearranged. Adela notices something familiar on the floor. It looks like the runes Li Han found. It matches the strange note found in the academy's secret passage perfectly. Right in the middle of the debris sits a glowing red cube. The artifact pulses with a dangerous energy as Siha reaches out to grab it. He wonders if taking the cube is what triggered the collapse. A massive stone golem rises from the rubble. Yeah, they're in big trouble. Fighting this thing is suicide. Siha grabs Adela's hand, it's time to bolt. She's stunned, but a giant rock monster is a pretty good reason to start running. They make a break for it as the entire cave starts coming down around them. They use a rock rocket to skyrocket out of the pit. Talk about a vertical exit. Adela is fuming, but at least they're still alive for the moment. The golem isn't giving up, smashing through everything in its path to reach them. They hit the ground running, but the giant's footsteps are right behind them. They burst into a clearing and find Lee Won and Natalie camping out. Siha screams for them to run before the monster catches up. They hit a wall, an illusion spell is blocking their only path to safety. They're cornered. The golem is slow, but it's inevitable. They have to fight. Adela isn't going down without a fight. She unleashes a stone rush. The attack hits dead center, but the beast doesn't even have a scratch on it. Physical attacks are useless against its enchanted armor. They need a new plan. Seeing the failed attack gives Siha the brilliant hint he needed. Siha thanks Adela. Her move just revealed the golem's hidden weakness. If fire and stone won't work, they have to change the rules of the game. He turns to Natalie. She's their only shot at making this strategy work. She's shaking, but Siha tells her to trust the process and use water magic. She steals her nerves, hoping Siha knows exactly what he's doing. Natalie unleashes a massive aqua blast, soaking the golem from head to toe. The monster is drenched, but it doesn't look bothered by the shower. Yet. Now for the secret weapon. Siha calls out his frost dragon, Closty. The little blue dragon leaps into action, ready to bring the deep freeze. A sudden chill fills the cave as the temperature drops in a heartbeat. The water on the golem freezes solid, turning it into a giant ice sculpture. With the giant frozen in place, Siha commands it to shatter. Threat neutralized. Siha is feeling pretty smug about his science lesson. Turns out, freezing water expands and shatters rock. Who knew? He's relieved the plan actually worked, because things were looking a little shaky for a second there. Adela and Lee Won are just happy he's still in one piece, shouting his name like he just won a marathon. But the victory is short-lived. Siha collapses, his mana tank completely on empty. Before they can even catch their breath, Adela's sharp ears pick up the sound of footsteps. Surprise, surprise. It's the Academy seniors, Kazan, showing up exactly when nobody wanted them. They look at the piles of shattered rock, wondering what kind of mess the juniors have made this time. Kazan is already in full damage control mode, stammering apologies for a mess he didn't even start. Siha isn't interested in excuses. He's just looking for a reason to throw a punch. He points a finger and tells Kazan to kneel. He thinks a little humiliation will make him feel better. Kazan's half-hearted apology is the perfect end to this mess. The Academy didn't waste time, slapping an emergency evacuation order on everyone just a week in. Everyone's too busy losing their minds over that crazy spell used to catch the golem. Now, the school's deep diving into where that golem and boar even came from. Siha shows off a glowing red cube, looking way more serious than usual. He hands it over, noting that this thing definitely wasn't part of the original script. If it belongs to the dark mages, it explains the crazy barriers and the golem's appearance. They gather for a strategy meeting, trying to make sense of the ominous magic felt in the woods. Adela looks on, sensing that something really bad is about to go down. Siha can't shake the feeling that those dark mages are closing in on them fast. If things keep going this way, they're basically sitting ducks. He gives a sharp look, knowing time is a luxury they don't have. A status window pops up, main episode 6, the Ardal Alliance. In the original story, Lee Han was the one who spearheaded this group. But with power comes parasites, enemies are already lining up to snatch those cubes. Meet Art, a mid-boss level master thief who makes pickpocketing look like an art form. This guy is a pro at swiping items before you even realize they're gone. Han Siha clenches his fist, knowing it's finally time to make a move. Siha wraps things up, telling everyone to go get some rest before the real work begins. The student walks through the cold stone arches, his brain already running 1,000 calculations. The system recommends a 6-man squad, so he's gotta pick the ultimate dream team. Lee Han, Adela, and Solia are locked in, but he still needs 2 more heavy hitters. He thinks of Natalia or Irene for her tactical mind and one for the perfect support role. Then there's the genius Yoon Hae-ul, who seems to be in a league of her own. In the book, she doesn't even join the hunt for years, but Siha isn't waiting that long. The top talent has never lost the top spot in her department, making her a must-have. Last on the list is Seymour Parker, messed up personality, but insane potential. Since Siha helped him out, Seymour's been surprisingly quiet and keeping to himself. He's got the talent, and most importantly, he's staying off the radar for now. Siha is banking on the fact that this guy won't turn around and stab them in the back. He knows he can't just let the original story play out if he plans on living through this. If he can nurture these kids now, they might actually stand a chance at changing the ending. Personnel sorted. Time for the protagonist to stop worrying and start moving. Out in the desert outskirts, where you're lucky to even see an ant. Han Siha enters a hidden facility Li Han built, loaded with magic traps and barriers. He checks on the cubes, looks like all the hard work paid off. The boy knows collecting these things was a total nightmare, but they're finally in his hands. The dark mages only use them as fancy magic batteries, but Siha knows the truth. These aren't just conduits, they're objects that take back just as much as they give. In the original story, the hero literally sacrificed his eyesight to win the final fight. Siha is a fan of seeing things, so he has zero intention of using them that way. But he still needs to see if there's a way to use them without the blind side effect. Han Siha makes a bold call, he's going to tame these cubes himself. Step 1 is communication, the foundation of any good taming. "Hey," he says, giving the orange cube a casual greeting. Naturally, the thing doesn't say a word back, leaving him on the floor in frustration. But his pride as a tamer is on the line, and he's not about to quit now. He recalls the golden rule: taming is all about conversation and active interest. "Answer me," he demands, starting to feel like he's actually losing his mind. Still no response. It's just a silent, floating chunk of rock. Then it hits him: Basil always got happier when he was addressed by his actual name. So, he officially dubs the orange cube Square. Real creative stuff. Immediately, he feels like a total idiot for trying to talk to an inanimate object. But then, a status window pops up: the cube's friendliness is actually increasing. He's absolutely stunned. Since when does talking to a rock actually work? Square is apparently a fan of the new name, because the friendliness points just keep rolling in. A system prompt pops up. Does he want to tame Squarey? Han Siha doesn't even hesitate before smashing that "yes" button. Wait, 100 mana? That's insane for a level 1 non-living creature. Even Basil, a literal dragon, only has 70. This cube is on another level. A 3-digit mana pool, dark wizards would kill for something like this. He's officially taming a cube. It's weird, but he's not complaining. And so begins the top-secret cube taming project at the Academy. The first one, Squarey, was easy. But the second cube is way tougher. The affinity is barely crawling up. This is going to take a while. Siha just sits there staring at it. This process is painfully slow. With Basil, Claustia, and now Squarey, he's basically a taming god already. If he complains about hitting a wall now, other tamers might actually stone him. This yellow one is the Void Cube. It can create spaces by using mana. It's way better than a simple mana booster. Taming it was a genius move. He'll have to carry it around everywhere to get that affinity up. Basil chimes in with a happy chirp, looking for some attention. The little dragon just awakened his polymorph ability. Time for a change. Wait, all he did was change color to green? That's it? Basil is proud, but he's basically just a green lizard now. Turning from red to green is a weird kind of polymorph, to say the least. Actually, even a minor transformation like this could be pretty useful. Siha wonders if Basil can use that power on other things too. Carrying a literal cube around is too obvious. It needs a makeover. He asks Basil to try smoothing out the edges of the cube. Basil looks a little confused, but he's ready to give it a shot. The cube turns into a gold sphere. Say hello to Roundy, the newest pet. Things get hectic again. Recruiting for the rebel corps is a nightmare. Yoon Hae-ul is especially difficult. She's not taking the bait. She keeps talking about bad omens. Convincing her is exhausting. But in the end, she figures it out and agrees to join the team. Seymour Parker joins without a fight. Maybe he's looking for redemption. With that, the 6th main episode is successfully completed. Boom. Autumn arrives at the Academy, and the scenery is looking top tier. Siha is just trying to read a book when someone calls out to him. It's Natalie. And she's carrying a cat? What's going on here? She found the little guy shivering in the rain and couldn't leave him. The kitten reminded her of Basil, so she brought it home. Wait, what? The cat starts rubbing against Siha immediately. It knows who's boss. Natalie is shocked. It took her days to get that cat to warm up to her. She hopes she isn't interrupting his reading session. Siha says it's fine. He's trying to learn about artifacts, but the books are way too advanced. It looks complicated. He's basically studying just to handle his cubes. Natalie offers to help, breaking down broom types like she's an absolute pro. She's dropping knowledge left and right. Our boy is actually impressed for once. Turns out her dad helped her build one before. Just a casual family project, I guess. Siha is losing it. He had a literal expert sitting right here the whole time. She starts pointing out the basic stuff in the book, making it look way too easy. Then she lands on the page he was struggling with. No title, just a mysterious cube. Even without a label, she knows exactly what it is. Siha is internally screaming. He blurs it out, how does she know about cubes? Real smooth move, Siha. He immediately regrets not playing dumb. Way to blow your cover, man. Natalie just nods. Yeah, she knows. She's way ahead of him. Now he's the one asking questions. Cubes aren't exactly common knowledge. And then she drops the real bomb, her grandfather was the one who created them. Natalie is caught off guard when he mentions her grandfather. Siha doesn't waste time, demanding to know how she's aware of the cube. He remembers her character from the original game as being purely kind. She was just a minor figure back then, never really affecting the main plot. He decides to stop overthinking and just trust his gut. He needs that information about the cube and won't let this chance slip. He just drops the bomb and admits he's the one holding the artifact. The revelation leaves her completely speechless and shocked. She shares that her grandfather told her it was stolen a long time ago. He realizes there's no point in hiding his knowledge from her now. He wonders how it ended up in his hands, but total honesty is the play. He's determined to bring her in, even if their party is getting crowded. He makes her a formal proposal, needing her specific expertise. The system confirms it, she's joined the quest to protect the cube. As expected, Natalie readily accepts the offer to join his syndicate. She begins sharing the wealth of info she has on the cube's true origin. Her grandfather's dream was to build a magical train instead of a steam one. It was a technological leap that standard magic couldn't bridge. Standard spells alone weren't enough to power something that heavy. Moving a train required an insane amount of magic that didn't exist yet. That's when he came up with the core, a way to condense infinite energy. Her family has been renowned artifact craftsmen for generations. He searched the continent for the perfect material, luminous stone. It takes an incredible amount of that stone just to forge one cube. Depending on the materials used, each cube ends up with unique powers. Siha keeps quiet about the fact that he's already tamed his artifact. They had to refine the cores with constraints just to keep them stable. But magic always has a price, and these items are no exception. Some cubes are so volatile they even demand the user's life in exchange. In the end, they were simply meant to be high-capacity batteries. Like dynamite, a tool meant for good was twisted into a weapon of war. The greed of dark sorcerers eventually corrupted the cube's purpose. Siha feels lucky to have scored such a deep lore dump on the artifact. He's glad she took the initiative to talk to him today. Without this meeting, he would have stayed completely in the dark. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out to him from across the hall. Speak of the devil, Yoon Haeol comes running in with a huge smile. She spots the kitten and asks if it's another monster he's tamed. He explains it's just a regular cat Natalie has been looking after. She's immediately obsessed and begs to hold the little thing. He warns her it's not easy to handle, but the kitten has other ideas. To his surprise, the little cat is perfectly calm in her arms. The little kitten is already purring, looking completely content in its new spot. She's so smitten that she asks if she can officially adopt the little guy. Siha thinks it's a great idea, a fortune teller's home is a much better place for a cat. It's definitely safer than being around him or anyone else constantly courting danger. She's overjoyed, declaring they're basically family now. She even gives him a name, Joy. Simple, cute, and perfect. She's absolutely buzzing with excitement over her new companion. Siha can't help but agree that a cat and a fortune teller are a perfect match. But then she shifts the mood, claiming she has some massive news to share. She brings up his brother, the one they saw at the astrology competition. It turns out Han Si-hyuk has just been appointed as a new professor. He's coming to Ardell Academy to serve as an official investigator. Adela drops some news on Han Si-ha, asking if he's heard the latest gossip yet. She reveals that investigator Han Si-hyuk was just appointed as the academy's new professor. Not only is he teaching, but he's also keeping his day job at the Ministry of Magic. Si-ha is surprised she knows so much about the guy. Turns out she's his new assistant, working part-time to pay for her living expenses. Si-ha is losing it because she didn't bother to tell him this earlier. Adela's just like, do I really need to tell you every little thing? Si-ha's ego takes a hit. He's hurt for literally no reason. Adela moves on, explaining that Si-hyuk is busy investigating a decades-old cold case. Right on cue, a system quest pops up for the Katablam cold case. The files are ancient, containing secrets that have been buried for over 10 years. This is Han Si-hyuk, the man who has made solving this case his life's mission. Over a decade ago, a village was mysteriously buried alive, and nobody knows why. Solving this mystery has become a total obsession for the investigator. The world knows him as the Empire's greatest prophet, Han Si-hyuk. He believed his prophecy magic could be used for more than just predicting the future. By looking at future resolutions, he can gather the clues needed to solve cases today. His unconventional methods made him a star, but the Katablam case remains a mystery. He rose to a position of power, acknowledged by both the Ministry and the Empire. But there's a reason why this specific case is still unsolved after all these years. The Ministry of Magic went through a lot of trouble to keep the truth buried under lock and key. Most people were too scared to investigate, but Si-hyuk isn't most people. His persistence stems from a vision he saw when he was just a kid. He saw a future tied to Katablam, and in that vision, he saw them. Teaching at the academy is his perfect cover to investigate without the Ministry watching. He's determined to finally uncover what really happened 10 years ago. But even with all his fame, there's a lingering sense of dread in his heart. Si-ha wonders if he'll ever be able to just live a normal life after learning the truth. Most episodes follow the original game script, but this sub-episode is a wild card. And of course, it's about Katablam, the one place he was hoping to avoid. That's the village Adela mentioned back in the cave. In the original story, Adela ends up killing Si-ha because of what happened there. He figures he can share some info with her, but he's still on the fence. The system is basically forcing his hand to assist Han Si-hyuk. His internal debate is cut short when someone calls out his name. A student runs up to tell him that Han Si-hyuk wants to see him in his office. Once he's there, Si-hyuk casually mentions they're going to a royal banquet. Si-ha is stunned. He wasn't exactly expecting a fancy invite today. Si-hyuk explains it's just part of the investigation and hands over a clipboard. He needs Si-ha to go and gather intel while keeping a low profile. Since Si-hyuk is a celebrity, he'll draw too much attention if he starts snooping. Si-ha is the perfect spy, talented, but still just a child in the eyes of the world. Si-hyuk points out that since they're legally siblings, Si-ha is the perfect assistant for this undercover mission. Si-ha doesn't mind since it's a win-win. He was planning to tackle this quest anyway. He starts imagining a fancy banquet with dancing and partying, wondering if that's what's in store. Exactly. But since the Emperor is hosting, Si-hyuk warns him not to draw any unnecessary attention. That means no starting fights or grabbing people by the collar just because they're annoying. Si-ha takes a moment of self-reflection and realizes his reputation might actually precede him. Night falls over the Grand Imperial Palace as the guests begin to arrive. Inside, the halls are filled with nobility and the sound of hushed conversations. The royal banquet officially begins as Si-hyuk and Si-ha make their grand entrance. Dressed in formal attire, Si-ha can't help but feel like he's truly been transported into a fantasy world. An imperial banquet. The food is top tier, and the chocolate fondue is no joke. Han Si-ha stands in the middle of the crowd, looking like he doesn't belong at all. He spent his past life buried in books and energy drinks. Parties like this were never his thing. A voice cuts through the music, asking for his name. Professor Bruce Miller introduces himself with a drink in hand. Miller is surprised to see a student here. He wants to know what brought Si-ha to the palace. Si-ha explains he's here assisting investigator Han Si-hyuk to gain some experience. He cuts straight to the point and asks Miller about the unresolved Katablam case. Miller plays dumb. He claims he doesn't know much and quickly tries to change the subject. The professor pivots, asking Siha if he's close with his brother. Siha keeps it professional, he respects his brother, but they aren't exactly best buds. Miller offers a cryptic warning, prophets have shady sides, so it's best not to trust them too much. He tells the boy to take the advice to heart before turning to leave. Miller bows out, leaving Siha to enjoy the rest of the night. Siha is left wondering why the professor suddenly brought up his brother. Something feels off. Since Miller was a dead end, Siha decides to find someone else to pump for info. He starts scanning the room, looking for someone high-ranking who doesn't look like a total jerk. A few flashy nobles catch his eye, but he hasn't made a move yet. Suddenly, someone taps him on the shoulder. A woman notes that standing around alone at a banquet like this is pretty boring. Linnea stands there with a playful smile, her golden eyes practically glowing under her hat. She definitely looks the part of a high-ranking noble. Siha is on high alert. She addresses him by name, catching him completely off guard. Siha freezes. How the hell does she know who he is? Linnea asks if he's Han Tae-soo's son, remarking on how much he's grown. He assumes she's an old friend of his father's. That would explain the familiarity. She asks if he came with his brother, showing she's surprisingly well informed. Siha explains he's here as an assistant, but Linnea thinks he's wasting his time with work. He tells her straight up, he's looking into the Catablam case. The atmosphere shifts instantly. Things just got a lot more serious. Linnea steps closer, asking if he actually knows anything about that case. She finds it fascinating that he of all people is the one digging into it. Siha clenches his fist. His intuition is screaming that this woman is dangerous. Linnea asks if she might be involved in whatever he's looking for. She leans in, her voice dropping as she addresses him as Han Tae-soo's son. Then she poses a question, what if the Empire had to choose between saving 1,000 people or him? She wants to know who he thinks they would pick. Siha is stunned. Why would she even ask something so twisted? Linnea rephrases it, if 1,000 commoners had to die just to save him, who gets the pass? Siha doesn't hesitate. He says the Empire would choose the 1,000 lives. To him, 1,000 people are far more valuable than a single student who hasn't even graduated. Linnea just laughs. She thinks his self-worth is a bit lacking if he really believes that. Linnea isn't even offended. She's just genuinely curious how little Han Siha values himself. She thinks his answer was way too easy. Choosing 1,000 lives over one? Boring. She drops a chill, even if it were 10,000 people, the Empire should always choose her. That is a terrifying level of confidence. Siha is starting to realize who he's dealing with. She tells him to walk away from the Catablam case. It's for his own good. The massacre had exactly 1,000 victims. She's taunting him with the numbers. To her, commoner lives are just cheap currency used to stop dark magicians. Pure utilitarianism. Siha finally gets it. This is why Adela hates the high and mighty nobility so much. They treat humans like insects. The academy bubble really hid the ugly truth from him. She tells him to go back to his studies and leave the real work to his brother. Siha has heard enough. Her worldview is absolutely revolting. He snaps, asking how anyone can be so casual about mass murder. A man in a purple cape cuts in, relieved to have finally found her. He complains that she ditched the boring noble talk, but then he drops the title. He bows low and calls her, Your Majesty. Siha's heart practically stops. The Emperor herself just smiles. She thinks Han Tae-soo raised quite an amusing child. Siha is paralyzed. Standing before the Emperor is a whole different level of terror. He's sweating bullets, desperately replaying his last few words to see where he messed up. The blonde ruler, Linnea, leans in with a terrifyingly calm smile and asks him to repeat himself. She drops a chilling riddle, who deserves to be saved, 10,000 citizens or her? The palace is breathtaking, but for Siha, it feels like a gilded execution chamber. Han Si-hyuk is sitting right there, looking like he's about to have a total heart attack. Siha barely manages to respond as the Emperor's gaze pierces right through him. Linnea smiles brightly while casually pondering which of his limbs she should chop off first. She's intrigued. Most people are groveling, but Siha is actually looking her straight in the eye. This kid is unlike anyone she's ever met, and that mystery is the only thing keeping him alive. Inside, Siha is screaming. He's completely frozen by the sheer pressure of her aura. He remembers her from the novel, a tyrant who executes people just for having a bad day. Linnea was a minor character in the original story, but her reputation for cruelty was legendary. She's an absolute monster who would sacrifice 1,000 lives just to get what she wants. And now, Siha has managed to thoroughly piss her off. Great job, kid. He tries to stammer out an apology, but the words get stuck in his throat. Suddenly, Han Si-hyuk steps in, begging for mercy because Siha is still just a child. Siha is stunned. The guy who usually despises him is actually risking his life to save him. One wrong word from Han Si-hyuk and both of their heads are going to roll. Linnea isn't moved. She asks why she should even bother giving him a second chance. Si-hyuk panics and tells her to just kill him quickly so he doesn't have to suffer. And just like that, Siha's gratitude is gone. Some big brother he turned out to be. The Emperor finds the whole pathetic display hilarious and bursts into laughter. She decides to play a game. Siha is too amusing to kill, at least for now. She signals her attendant to bring an hourglass. Things are about to get real stressful. She flips it. Siha has exactly 3 minutes to convince her he's worth keeping alive. Her gaze is cold as ice. One bad answer and it's game over for the son of Han Tae-soo. Siha stares back at her, his mind racing through every survival tactic he knows. He touches his neck, half expecting his head to have fallen off already. He's left sitting in silence as the clock ticks away. The pressure is suffocating. How is he supposed to talk his way out of treason with a literal madwoman? With the clock running down, Siha is finally starting to lose his cool. Suddenly, a status window pops up. It's a sub-episode prompt about the Katablam case. The system always intervenes when his life is in danger. This is his only shot. He realizes he needs to say something, anything, to prove his value to the Empire. Linnea mocks him, claiming there are plenty of people smarter and more talented than some Tamer. Siha snaps. He tells her to stop nitpicking and listen to someone with superior intellect. Han Si-hyuk is absolutely horrified. You don't talk to a tyrant like that and live. With 2 minutes left, Siha decides to drop the one bomb that might save him. He mentions the one thing that catches her interest, the truth behind the Katablam case. He reveals the truth, the people of Katablam village weren't cursed by dark mages at all. Siha is connecting the dots. The Emperor treats commoners like insects, and Katablam was just another bug to squash. He looks her dead in the eye and drops the bomb. She's the one who ordered the entire village to be buried alive. Linnea doesn't even flinch. She just leans in, clearly enjoying how this kid's mind works. In the back, Han Si-hyuk is having an existential crisis. This definitely wasn't in the official reports. Si-hyuk spent years digging for the truth but only found rumors about a curse. No evidence, just noise. Siha points out the obvious: if you can't find proof of a curse after a decade, maybe there never was one. He doubles down. Not a single person in that village was actually cursed. It was all a massive cover-up. He asks for her real motive. Sacrificing lowly beings is her brand, but why the secrecy? Linnea just smiles. She's impressed he's using her own twisted logic to back her into a corner. She tests him further, asking why a ruler like her would ever need a middleman to do her dirty work. Siha doesn't miss a beat. Direct action leaves a paper trail, but a trusted puppet keeps her hands clean. In the game of imperial chess, the Emperor doesn't move herself, she lets her high-ranking counts do the heavy lifting. He clenches his fist. There's one person she trusts more than anyone, a man with a long list of achievements. The truth is starting to sting, but Siha isn't backing down. He's going straight for the jugular. An entire village was wiped off the map, buried under the soil by someone who knew exactly how to hide a secret. He finally asks the million-dollar question: was the man leading that operation his own father, Han Tae-soo? The Emperor looks at him with a mix of amusement and genuine surprise. He hit the nail right on the head. As the hourglass runs out, she asks how he knew. He admits it was just a hunch based on her reactions. Every official document was fabricated, and every witness was silenced. It was the perfect imperial crime. Siha points out that he pieced this entire conspiracy together in just 5 minutes of meeting her. He gives her a cocky grin. Does she still think there's anyone in this empire more talented than him? Linnea lets out a playful laugh, clearly enjoying the tension she's created. She likes how bold and honest the boy is, so she decides to let him live. As a reward for his fearlessness, she offers him a special gift. Linnea hands Han Si-hyuk a secret envelope, ordering him to finish the investigation into the Katablam case. She makes it very clear that the documents inside are for his eyes only. Turning to Han Si-ha, she tells him to open his own reward, a fine fountain pen. Si-ha is surprised, since he's never actually met the Emperor before. He stammers out a thank you, his robotic movements showing just how nervous he is. Linnea just smiles, asking him if he knows why she'd give him a pen as a gift. Si-ha realizes she's testing his intuition once again. He correctly guesses it's a rare artifact meant to help with the Dark Magician case. Linnea claps her hands, delighted that he's so quick on the draw. The encounter ends as night falls over the academy grounds. The next day at the mansion, Han Tae-soo tells Si-ha that the Emperor was quite impressed with him. Si-hyuk stands by silently, shocked that his brother actually received a compliment. Si-ha explains that he was only trying to assist his brother with the investigation. He admits he had no idea he was speaking to royalty and definitely said too much. He's honestly just relieved his head is still on his shoulders after that blunder. The Count turns the conversation back to the unresolved Katablam case. He notes that Si-hyuk is still obsessively clinging to the details of that tragedy. But since they had a private audience, he knows they must have uncovered something vital. The truth is devastating, 1,000 innocent people were killed by the Emperor's direct order. And as Si-hyuk looks through the files, he realizes that's not even the whole story. He starts reviewing the secret documents the Empress gave him. He opens the forbidden file regarding the Dark Magician who started it all. These are records from a decade ago that were kept hidden from the public. Right from the start, the descriptions are completely different from the official investigation. A dark magician named Nox had infiltrated the village, making it impossible to identify him. An entire division sent to stop him was slaughtered instantly. Nox intended to sacrifice the entire village to fuel a massive, forbidden ritual. If he hadn't been stopped, the damage would have spread far beyond the village borders. The Empire had to choose between 1,000 villagers and the safety of the entire world. They chose to bury everyone in the village alive to ensure the magician was eliminated. Si-hyuk is hit with a wave of disgust as the full truth sinks in. Knowing his own family carried out such a revolting order is almost too much to bear. He forces himself to keep reading, hoping for some kind of closure in the records. Then he spots a section about the 2 children who managed to survive the massacre. He's shocked that anyone could have escaped that living nightmare. He stares at the portrait of a young girl named Adela Stivia. It clicks, she's the same girl working as an assistant at the academy. She lost everything that day and was later awakened as a powerful magician. If she ever discovers who was responsible, she'll stop at nothing to get her revenge. Si-hyuk realizes he can't let this file exist, the truth is way too dangerous for anyone to see. He's completely paralyzed by the next set of revelations hidden deep in the report. He fumbles with the papers, his voice shaking as he realizes who the second survivor really is. The report shifts to Han Tae-soo's personal account of the day he destroyed Katablam village. A prophet had visited the Count with a chilling warning about the future of his family. The prophecy stated that a survivor of the village was destined to murder his biological son, Si-ha. To protect his bloodline, the Count went to the village to make sure everyone was truly gone. But as he stood over the wreckage, he saw a small figure still moving among the bodies. It was a young boy, crying and alone in the middle of the utter destruction. The Count realized this boy was the child from the prophecy who would one day kill his son. Instead of killing the child, he decided to keep his enemy closer than anyone else. He illegally erased the boy's memories and gave him a new identity, Han Si-hyuk. Present-day Si-hyuk trembles in horror, realizing his entire life has been built on a lie. Si-ha stands in a cold, grand hall and asks Han Tae-soo if he has any regrets about the past. The Count looks away, admitting he did regret it, but not for the reason his son thinks. His only regret is that he didn't finish off the survivors who might come back to kill Si-ha. Si-ha is horrified. He can't believe someone could be so heartless. Han Tae-soo doesn't care about his blame. He'd make the same bloody choice all over again. He calls it the best option at the time. To Si-ha, it sounds like the absolute worst. The Count turns and walks away, leaning heavily on his cane. He opens a hidden cabinet and pulls out a dark, ornate sword. He hands the weapon over. "Take this," he says, with zero emotion. It's the Sword of Earthquake Waves, a legendary family heirloom with a dark history. This is the very blade that buried an entire village and its people 10 years ago. Si-ha stares at it, confused. He's a tamer, not a swordsman. Why give him this? The Count warns him a day will come when he'll have no choice but to use it. He looks Siha dead in the eye, his voice chillingly calm. He gives a final warning, stay away from Han Si-hyuk and Adela. They're both dangerous. Siha hesitates as he takes the sword, the weight of his family's sins sinking in. His brother Si-hyuk already knows the truth about their family's dark past. But the real problem is Adela, who still sees Siha as a friend. Everything she's done to get stronger was to avenge her family, not knowing the truth. Siha clenches his fist. He can't bring himself to tell her that his family destroyed hers. He has to wait until she's ready, but for now, he's stuck in a lie. He'll have to keep pretending and keeping secrets from her, every single day. Back at Ardal Academy, the sun sets over the quiet campus grounds. In his room, Siha stares at the cursed blade. It feels like a noose around his neck. He stores it away, minding the warning to keep it off the ground so it doesn't get tainted. Even in its weakened state, this thing has enough power to level a whole dormitory. It's a sword that has already claimed over 1,000 lives. He thinks about polishing it, but what's the point of keeping a murder weapon shiny? No matter how much it gleams, the blade still reeks of blood. Suddenly, Li Wan bursts into the room, surprised to see Siha is finally back. He jokes that Siha's father must have caught him doing something suspicious. One pulls out a small, folded note and hands it over. It turns out Adela was the one who asked him to deliver the message. The note says she wants to see Basil the dragon at the dorm entrance this evening. Siha smirks. It's a pretty transparent excuse to see him because she missed him. Later that night, Adela is already waiting outside the dormitory. She's thrilled to see Basil, hugging the little dragon and calling him a cutie. Siha watches from the side, asking if she's satisfied now that she's seen her dragon. Adela gets flustered and asks if he wants to hang out since they're already there. Siha mentions there's a cherry blossom festival happening nearby in the village square. They walk together through the glowing trees, the petals falling around them like snow. Adela is mesmerized. She missed this last year because she was too busy training. Han Siha keeps up the charm, jokingly saying that a tough girl like Adela usually spends her time uprooting trees instead. He tells her it suits her and calls her cute, making her puff out her cheeks in a rare display of embarrassment. Siha is internally freaking out, wondering if he's finally lost his mind for being this smooth. He starts slapping his own cheeks to snap out of it, leaving Adela wondering what on earth he's muttering about. Adela asks if it's true that catching a falling cherry blossom petal really makes your wish come true. Siha confirms it, so she immediately runs off to try and catch one for herself. Watching her, Siha struggles to keep his guilty expression hidden under the beautiful night sky. He knows she'd fall apart if she found out the hero who wiped out her hometown was his own father, Han Tae-soo. She looks strong, but she's fragile inside, and the truth would absolutely destroy her spirit. Instead of hating him, she'd probably just blame herself for being too blind to see the enemy right in front of her. The friendship he'd built to survive has turned into a noose around both of their necks. It would have been better if he remained a gloomy loser, so she could just kill him and get her revenge. Adela snaps him out of his dark thoughts by showing off the petal she just caught. She looks so genuinely happy that Siha can't help but wonder what kind of wish she's going to make. She tells him it's a secret, her face glowing with a rare, peaceful smile. Without that tragedy 10 years ago, she wouldn't have had to live such a desperate, hard life. Everything has already gone wrong, and the guilt is starting to weigh heavier than the sword he's carrying. She asks if he's going to make a wish too, but Siha just stares at her, his mind finally made up. He stops walking and calls out her name, his voice heavy with a resolution that cuts through the festive mood. Looking into her eyes, he tells her there's something he needs to say, ending the season on a massive cliffhanger.